All right. Does everyone want to go and introduce? Actually, let Spidey first, because you are helping host. If you would like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, my name is Spidey. I also go by Love of Labor on Discord and Twitch. I am going to be one of the moderators here tonight. My role is to try to provide more clarification for questions when people have them, as well as possibly give direction so people can talk about these questions with a little more intricacy, since we have so many contestants here tonight. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Spidey is actually, you have been extremely helpful. He designed most of the questions and made the Discord, so goddamn.
Woo, Spidey.
Yeah. All right. Starting with Tyler, average debate enjoyer. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name's Tyler, average debate enjoyer, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, all that stuff. I'm just here because I love talking politics, and hopefully what I have to say impresses enough people to at least make it to round 3. I won't be disappointed if I make it to at least round 3.
All right, Admiral Gibbs.
Hi, I'm Admiral Gibbs. I talk politics and I do gaming and whatnot. You might have seen me on Tim Pool last week, and I host a show called Give Me a Break and the Debate Championship Series. And tomorrow we're starting a new show. Since as a conservative, I am an avid feminist, and we're doing in the vein of Fox News Outnumbered. It'll be me and 5 women discussing whatever issues that women want to talk, because we like to give women a voice on Twitch.
That sounds very intriguing. Thank you, Admiral Gibbs. Bagel, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Bagel. I am a high T alpha female, and it is such a delight to be here. I'm also a friend of Charlie's and a violinist more than anything else, but it is lovely to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Bagel. All right, Cinetech.
I'm Cinetech. I don't stream or have any online presence in any meaningful fashion other than watching Charlie's channel and occasionally commenting. No background in politics since college. I work in media, specifically technical film stuff.
All right, thank you, Cinetech. I didn't know that about you. Your name makes a lot of sense now. Ditso.
Thank you for having me. I'm a Latin American geopolitical analyst with 25 years working on this field. I work issues in Latin America. I'm pretty much right now would be the only person not in the United States, not living in the United States, but in Central America. And basically, I don't have that much presence online because of work I do here. But this is my field of expertise, politics, analyzing politics. So hopefully I can help understand better the issues. Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you. Eco Rich.
Ika Rich. I debate coach out of Texas. Don't really stream or anything. Don't have any socials to spread around, except I am on X and Blue Sky at Ika Rich, same spelling.
All right, Joe.
I have no social media. I hate Charlie, and I am one of Charlie's moderators for some stupid reason, and I am an academic by training, and I'm just here to talk shit.
Love you, Joe. Thank you. All right, Christina.
Yes, my name is Christina, aka Cosmopolitics. I stream politics and pop culture from a more left-leaning perspective. It's very chill time, and I also host a little movie podcast called Movie Night Extravaganza. We're doing court and law movies this month, and you can follow me at Cosmopolitics everywhere on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky. So yeah, I'm here because I love Charlie.
I love you too. Thank you for coming. All right, Nathaniel O'Flanagan, Irish.
That's me. Name's Nathaniel House. I'm a intern for the ACLU, part-time manager at my local Olive Garden. Just got off work, hence the uniform. And I'm just here hoping to debate some good old-fashioned politics and hopefully convince some of you guys in the chat to not be, chuds or whatever.
Thank you, Nathaniel. I don't know what to believe anymore. I don't know if you work at the Olive Garden, the ACLU. I don't know if you're a tick. I don't know. Anyway, a pentuple.
Hi, I'm Pentuple TV, the self-declared head of MAGA headquarters here on Twitch, and I like to stream about politics and baseball.
And he's a lawyer.
Great. Is this true?
I am, yes, I am. But
Oh,
yeah,
that's crazy.
I usually
Sorry to hear that, man.
Damn. All right. Thank you. Okay, Peter Family.
Hello, my name is Peter Fanley, and I am a full-time Amazon worker and a part-time Twitch streamer, which means Jeff Bezos has both of my individual testicles in different vice grips, and we hate it. And I am very barely into politics, enough as much as philosophy goes, I suppose. And I have no degrees. I am a guy shooting this shit for the funsies of Charlie and anyone else who enjoys it. And I hope I don't get asked for stats, because I don't got them.
Awesome. Love to have you. All right, Prime K is.
A testicle vice grip sounds actually pretty wonderful, but all right, to each his own. But thank you for having me. My name is Prime Kai, PRIMECAYES. I stream on YouTube and Twitch. I do debates, like Sun 'em Up. You'll find on my channel Gibbs, who's been amazing, and we were both on Tim Pool's podcast debating on Friday. It was a lot of fun, and also we met our friend Pentuple, who's fantastic. He's actually a good guy, right? Despite the nonsense he's going to say in a second, he's actually a really good guy. But shout out to everyone. Yeah, nice to meet you.
All right, thank you very much. Professor Whom.
Hello, my name is Professor Whom. You can find me on Twitch at Professor_Whom. I'm a gamer, and first and foremost, I am just a guy. So I know there are people around me. You are going to hear opinions from experts in their fields. People with degrees, people without degrees, people who probably shouldn't have the degrees that they have. I represent you, just the guy watching this stream.
All right.
Thanks for your service.
Thank you, Professor Whom. Lovely to have you. All right, Visora.
Hey guys, what's up? I'm Visora. I live in Australia, but I grew up in America, in New Jersey. I stream on Twitch and YouTube about mostly politics, sometimes social issues, sometimes psychology, sometimes just media analysis, kind of really whatever I feel like doing. And yeah, that's it.
All right. I think that is everyone. And I think I got everyone's links correct. Hopefully, I have it at the pinned at the top. Let me know if I fucked anything up. But okay, let us get into it. I'll let everyone volunteer for what they would like to start. So first question is, and I love how Spidey phrased this. All right, so it's obvious we're getting played as American citizens. Who is stealing from the people?
Put me in, coach.
Okay, Professor Whom?
Billionaires. I don't know if you've heard about them. There's quite a few of them. Over the past 50 years, we've seen stagnant wages outpaced by productivity at a rate of nearly 3 to 1. The rich have been getting richer at a breakneck pace, while the economic opportunity for the average American has plummeted. For people watching this, your parents' generation or grandparents, depending on your age, college was affordable. Home ownership on a single income was realistically attainable, and people could afford to actually start families. This generation, you ain't got shit. You got to rent everything, and even then struggle to make ends meet while wealth is accumulating to the top and the rich is getting richer than it's ever been before. I mean, that's the way it is.
Absolutely right. I agree. I put
I agree.
I put a graph
Yeah,
in the
I'll go
chat
next.
for this, just if anyone wants it, of productivity to wages, just in case.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
Then I guess I'll go next.
Yep. Yes.
So yeah, I would add on to what Professor Whom has said. But I would say that it's not simply billionaires in the abstract. I'd say it's the neoliberal consensus within our politics. So that's like the mechanism that's been used, right? It's transferring public money to private hands. This ideology has been followed by both parties, right? Republicans and very much Democrats. Democrats who, like for instance, Kamala Harris, who got more money from billionaires in our last election than Donald Trump did. These both parties have aligned themselves with the upper class, and so slowly but surely, our ability to like interact with the public sphere in a free or a just a fair manner has been degraded. So I'll leave it there.
Can I jump in?
Yep, go right ahead.
I want to add to that and say that not only like did Kamala Harris get more money from billionaires than Donald Trump did, but our entire governmental system is directly tied to money, corporal money. It is Citizens United from 2008, but even before that, we were always headed here. You can go look back to the 1930s with the business plot. It was always a concerted effort for the wealthy to gain all of power. And then once laissez-faire economics and Milton Friedman got their stuff started in the 70s, it just went on and on. We did this to every other country that we could have, and now we're doing it to ourselves.
All right. I think I saw. Yeah, go ahead. Was that Ditso?
Yeah, Ditso.
All right. And then
in
I want to
line
do
with-
Rudy and Cinetech afterwards.
In line of everybody's comments, Visora, Professor Whom, Caius, simple as this. Who's screwing the United States people if not their own people? The politicians you elect, the billionaires that exploit, and the impacts of foreign policy within outside your country. One of those major examples, the issues with irregular migration that has been happening. That is one of those factors that happens is because of United States foreign policy.
That's
so
true.
What is getting your country screwed? Your own country, your own people, the people you elect wrongfully to the offices. But not only that, exceptionalism is killing the United States.
Western chauvinism.
I agree. Up until the point of, so it's a weird thing. You are absolutely correct. We do put ourselves in this position, but that's not completely of our full volition. It's, you know, the concept of not knowing you're in a fishbowl, for completely stripping away the fullness of that analogy. You know, I mean, the easiest way you can put it is it's our damn education system. Our country is purposely not teaching us things. That can be as simple as not teaching us how to do damn taxes so we can stay poor for the rest of our lives, or, you know, just anything like that. And they're also not teaching us the things that they do outside of U.S. soil, the imperialism and all of the crazy operations that are done, have been done both in the past and are currently happening in front of our very eyes, both overtly and covertly. And
But all of these are manufactured systems that all connect to each other, and everything that has been mentioned so far connects to each other and works together. It's one big system that produces this effect.
Yes. You're exactly right. So, like, just I like to blame the voters too, right? That's a lot of fun. However, you have to understand that if there is billions of dollars coming into our political system, for instance, through our elections, and tilting the field, right? And most of, other than the presidential election, for most elections, basically the person who has the most money wins, right? So we're getting flooded by that kind of money. The average voter is just not going to have the time to be able to sift through this. They'll simply see the negative ad, right, and then they'll vote on that negative ad. It works literally every
How much freedom do we have? How much autonomy do we have in the choices that we make if we live in a media environment where everything that we see is directly created to produce a certain feeling, a behavior, an action, an ideology? Do we have any free will in that case?
Can I kick in real quickly with what Visora was saying? I'm half Venezuelan. I lived through the end of the Fourth Republic and this experiment of the Fifth Republic through Chavez. I can tell you two things. The hubris of exceptionalism slowly kills freedom. And the hubris of self-centered importance destroys liberty.
It's hyper-individualism. That's the word for what you just described.
All right. I think Rudy and Cinetech wanted to had their hands raised. So Joe, go ahead.
So who's robbing from us was basically the question, or who's screwing us over, and the answer is Canada. Canada is clearly screwing us over. Fuck Canada. I do think we should annex Canada completely, but they get to keep Quebec because fuck Quebec, and they should suffer under the indignity of Quebec. Also, the solution to this has been taught to us by two heroes. Uncle Ted taught us with some engineering, and Luigi taught us with a 3D printer and a dream. You can change the world. And I don't really think just blaming billionaires actually helps anything. It's an easy fucking whiny complaint. Doesn't offer solution. I also like that the people not currently living in the U.S. are bitching about the U.S. Like, cool. Whine about your own problems, please, for the love of God.
What the U.S. does affects me directly. I live in Australia, which is essentially a U.S. colony.
Yeah, good. It should stay that way.
All right, Joe playing devil's advocate. Okay, thank you, Joe. Okay, anyone who hasn't spoken yet, do you want to jump in and comment on what Joe said?
I actually, go ahead.
I had a quick one. I just want to say I reject the idea that it's the billionaires' fault. I think it's more people that are worth probably 10 to 100 million. A lot of them live in DC. They've sold out our country. They tax the shit out of us. That's who I think is who we're getting played by. The billionaires, when you get to that level, a lot of these people are like like Bezos, like love him or hate him. Like, he's not the one ripping us off. He's employing a lot of Americans. The ones that are ripping us off are the people taking like 30% of our taxes in income. The people who've sold our jobs overseas, who have gotten so far to the point that they argue they'll never come back, so that there's no bother even trying. I think those are the people that are playing us. And I would argue that further proof of that is that these people are pointing at the billionaires. I think that they are actually the ones that are ripping us off. Well, not that billionaires are all innocent, but I think when we're talking about the billionaires in the private sector, and then we're talking about these people that are worth 10 to 100 million dollars because of insider trading in DC, where the average like household income there is more than double anywhere else in the country. It's like it's pretty obvious they're the ones ripping us off, right?
Well, how about we put them on trial?
It's pretty ridiculous to hear a MAGA guy bring that up, considering you're currently like glazing Elon Musk, who fucking loves importing.
Why am I glazing Elon Musk though? Why? What are we glazing Elon Musk for?
You're a MAGA guy. All I'm saying is that Elon Musk has been the leader of like fucking shipping jobs down the river and like giving programming jobs to Indians that he can pay half of a fucking American.
Elon Musk by virtue of him being Elon Musk. I like the Department of Government Efficiency.
My hand is raised.
Okay, Professor Whom.
My response to that is, what is 100 millionaire if not a temporarily embarrassed billionaire?
I don't.
I think that's.
I mean, you don't start at $1 billion. You work your way up. It's the same.
Sure, but not everyone at 100 million is going to become a billionaire.
Do you?
You're like you're guaranteed once you reach 100 million.
So
are they going to?
I don't know what you mean by trying. It depends. Like, what do you?
Can I continue my thoughts on
and decides I'm good?
Nathaniel, go ahead, and then I want Nathaniel, and after that I want Cinetech, and then I want iCow Rich. I think was the next one that wanted to speak, right? Then I want Bagel, and then I want Gibbs, and then and then that's that. Right.
Okay, so I don't really give a shit distinguishing between someone that has 100 million and $1 billion. That's more money than I could spend in like 5 fucking lifetimes. You know, but the people that make it to the very top, like Elon Musk, they don't think like you and I. They don't think of people as people. They don't think of Americans as Americans. What they see are individual economic units that they want to milk dry and squeeze every last drop of profit out of. That's why every fucking billionaire, every person worth over $100 million in tech, they all want to import millions of fucking H-1B workers. It's the same reason why the fucking conglomerates that own the farms in California want to keep shipping illegals up over the border so they can work for fucking $5 a day picking your fruit. Like, it's all of them. They're all bad. Yeah. All of them.
All right, Cinetech.
Adding some context to what has already been said, part of what has enabled these upward transfers, I guess there's a couple different pillars that have allowed these upward transfers of wealth that we're all talking about. One, lessening of the regulatory state that is sort of kicked into high gear, particularly since the 1980s. Prior to that, under a higher tax, higher regulatory system before neoliberalism really got going with Reagan, Thatcher, etc., you had more regulation and there was more constraints put on business that arguably held business back from overheating and growing to the extent that it did in the 80s, but there were a lot of negative knock-on effects that came with that, as well as we are now all seeing the consequences of. I would also point out that while this neoliberal consensus that has developed over the past 40-odd years is very much responsible for where we are now, it's important to recall this is not the first time this has happened. A similar sort of economic situation existed in the late 19th century, early 20th century, the robber baron era, where you had similarly large corporate interests who were able to effectively leverage, for the time, new technologies, railroads, and other industries that were new at the time to garner incredible wealth for themselves and effectively use that to capture government. What broke that, ultimately, was the combined effects of the Great Depression, World War II, and the New Deal. Those three things together created a leveling of the wealth in the U.S., and created actually a lot of wealth in the U.S. generally. It was a lot to spread around because most of the productive capacity of the rest of the world, or the developed world in Europe, was destroyed. We got to where we are now because in the wake of the New Deal, the old moneyed interests that had previously controlled the government and the economy were upset that they were now having to pay taxes to fund these social programs and suffer regulations. So since then, you had the foundation of Movement Conservative, whose project it has been since the 1950s to undo the New Deal and return us back to the state prior.
All right, so that is time, but thank you, Cinetech. I didn't realize Spidey was running the timers. Thank you, Spidey.
Mm-hmm.
iCow Rich next. I just want to give everyone a chance to talk.
Yeah, okay. I just want to respond to a couple things that were just said real quick, and then try to answer the question. One is, I do think corruption is spread through both parties. I think that's true. Although I think the estimate that Democrats received more money from billionaires than Republicans is vastly untrue. $500 billion went to Trump's campaign. About $80 billion went to Kamala Harris's. Still, way too much. Both of those figures are far too high, and I think if you're not gonna put the blame on billionaires, by the way, like Pentuple's attack on Elon Musk is like I 100% agree with that. You're talking about people with a lot of money who got their money from tax dollars, right? Elon Musk, his companies, SpaceX got $22.6 billion in government contracts. 15 billion of that from NASA. Tesla got $15.7 billion in aid funding and government orders over the last 10, 15 years. So yeah, he's gotten billions out of the federal government. And for the people who are getting rich off the federal government, as Pentuple suggested, is a problem, then yeah, absolutely, 100%. There's one billionaire that we can look at. I know you said the people are making 200 million, but he's got 200 million multiple times, right? So I think
he's also an unelected bureaucrat.
$500 billion were spent by the Trump campaign. 500 billion, or not 500 million?
It's did I say
500 billion?
It wasn't billion.
So it was Elon Musk gave 250 million on his own. Yeah, it was
50
500
million.
from billionaires. Yeah, because we were talking about billionaires. Probably a B got
Wait,
onto my
buying
list.
Twitter
Like,
has to count in this. Buying Twitter is
That's just
$44
a
billion.
big factor of-
This man is an
No.
unelected bureaucrat.
He did a quarter. Yeah, he did 250 million just in his individual contributions to Trump's PAC.
Well, can I ask you guys about this? Because I feel like there's an interesting like model switch where, because sometimes when I engage with people who don't like Doge, they'll shrink down. Like $10 billion isn't that much money, but these are the same people who argue that we could solve our problems by just taxing billionaires more. But how much do you think we can get out of billionaires? Like how much? What do you think it would be a dream to get $10 billion out of a single billionaire?
Kentuple, can you show me
the question that I have is, why are we asking literally one of the richest men who's ever lived and his friend, another one of the richest men who's ever lived, to like cut money from billionaires?
But we're not.
Doge
Because
is like
stupid
uniquely
people
bad
believe that
for
the
that
people with the
reason.
most money are the smartest and they should run everything.
Guys,
that's what
can
stupid people
somebody
It
cite
certainly
me
suggests
one? Guys, can
there's a
somebody cite
correlation,
me?
is there not, Nathaniel? Is there not a correlation?
Kentuple.
Even if you think it's
Wealth
weak,
and
there's
intelligence?
some exceptions. Isn't there generally a correlation with a person's success and a person's intelligence, or no?
No.
Of course,
It's
that
totally
doesn't mean
random.
that
I
doesn't
can-
mean
totally
that the
random.
I have like three
the
things
most
I need to
smartest
say.
person is also the most rich.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying it's good evidence that he generally probably understands
No,
some things.
it doesn't.
Right?
It actually
It
means
doesn't.
the
Being the
opposite.
richest
Because
person
he's
on the
the richest
planet
man on the planet.
is not evidence that you know
Okay,
anything.
guys. Okay.
I mean, okay. I mean,
Let me take off noise cancellation so you guys can hear me clap. Sorry.
Okay.
Look, it is
I'm
almost.
yelling at you guys the way I yell at my siblings. I'm so sorry.
Kentuple.
He's the richest man on the planet because he's the
I'm
best
used
at
to it.
making money.
Okay,
That
okay.
doesn't
I'm
mean
just
he's
saying.
Visora,
Everyone
Visora.
shut the fuck up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Visora, feel free to chime in, and then I want to
Thank
move
you.
on to Admiral Gibbs and Tyler.
Okay.
And Christina also needs to speak.
I got two things here. One, Pentuple, can you show me one arrest related to fraud that Doge found? Because, fraud is a felony,
Whoa,
especially
what are you
defrauding the
talking about? I
federal
was just talking
government.
about-
No, hold on. I just wanted to ask this because you said,
No, we can throw
sometimes.
fraud and abuse.
But on top of
What do
that,
you want me to go grok something?
no, I want
look
you
it
to
up. What are you
cite
asking me
an
for?
arrest that came
I didn't say
from
anything about
fraud.
arrest.
I know you didn't. I'm asking you a question. You said something about Doge, and you're obviously MAGA headquarters.
Yeah.
So can
was
you
asking
please
about-
tell me, I'm asking you a different question. Can you cite me one example of someone who was arrested for defrauding the federal government that Doge found?
I don't know that we need arrests to suggest that there was fraud in the government.
Fraud is a felony. If you're defrauding the federal government.
Sure, yeah, but we're
then
not suggesting that there's. I mean, these things take time. I don't know who are you going to charge. You got to figure out first. You find the fraud, and then I guess we'll probably figure out who was committing
he's
fraud
been
intentionally.
posting
But that
fraud
doesn't.
and then taking it
just
down.
because we haven't found or haven't arrested anyone yet doesn't
We
mean that we
haven't
haven't
found
found
it-
evidence or the existence or the plausible existence of fraud in our government.
There
You're
is none.
suggesting our government doesn't engage in fraud?
No, I'm saying
I mean,
it
like,
does.
okay.
It does. It's just in the military.
Okay, then what do you want
It's
about?
just
What do you
in
want about? We're trying to
Pentagon.
find it.
No,
We're doing our
you
best.
are not looking for fraud.
Get out of our way.
Can I just say real quick?
The other point I was actually trying to make.
There's a question.
The
that
other point I was trying to
asked,
make is
let me
if you
answer.
think we can just tax billionaires to solve.
Charlie, just
Okay.
server deafen people and mute people.
Yeah, I am server muting them. Okay, Bagel, you wanted to respond?
Yeah.
And Dipso had something to say as well.
Sure, really quickly. I was just adding on to her point. I was just going to say, how many people has Doge fired? Right? Doge has gone on this rampant firing spree.
Doge, sorry.
It's gone around, it's fired many people, and it's fired a lot of people that are enemies of Elon Musk in departments that Elon Musk does not like. But if they haven't found any evidence of fraud that's convictable, and yet they're firing literally thousands and thousands of people, something simply does not add up.
25,000.
They are doing things in the wrong order.
I would question the extent, on the basis of, let us assume for a second that they are actually interested in obtaining efficiency. It would stand to reason then that you were interested in efficiency and actually making the government operate better, and that was why you were interested in efficiency. You would find ways to cut in such a way that you would, yes, reduce cost, but minimally affect services, provision of services. That is not what they are doing. They are
Guys,
taking a
the
chainsaw to everything
Pentagon.
instead of a scalpel.
The Pentagon has
All right,
never
hold on.
passed an audit.
I want to have
Speak.
so okay. Yeah, actually, I think that I do want to let there are 3 people who have not yet spoken at all, so I want to let them speak.
Yes.
And
Before, do you mind if I also cut people off due to time?
yeah, no, Spidey, please, absolutely. You can
Awesome.
start doing the time because we want to have everyone speak.
give us
about
like a 10-second heads up.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So I'm trying to give everyone
Mhm.
around a minute 30 seconds. So Cinetech, you're the most over that. iCal Rich, Nagel, you're about got 5 seconds left. Penatuple, you're over it. Prime K is over it. Professor Whom got 15 seconds left, and Visora, you're over it. So if you could limit the talking.
All right,
And let other people.
Admiral Gibbs.
Yeah, so I guess this subject's not the Doge subject yet, but when we're talking about who's stealing from us, it's obviously the government. It's like when we look at things, just look at the tax brackets for this next year, right? The highest tax bracket is 37%. Okay, cool. So that single file incomes, that's 197,000. And 300, and for joint, it's 394,600. All right, that means some of these people are in the same that are making 300K as a couple are in the same tax bracket as Elon Musk, and they're expected to take this burden as these billionaires. That's ridiculous. You're stealing from these people. I'm a rancher. Our margins aren't that high. Whenever you go and say, hey, you're going to come in here and you're wealthy, and we evaluate your capital gains, and you build a new stockade on your ranch, guess what? I have to pay more in taxes and capital gains, and I'm getting fucked. But no one cares about that. No one cares, but they do care when food prices go up. And food prices going up are directly correlated to overregulation. We saw the overregulation with chickens. We killed a bunch of them at the end of Biden's administration because of the bird flu. It was overregulation safety. A lot of those chickens didn't have to die. Drove eggs up. Eggs are going back down now, thank God. But we see this over and over in the ag industry with certain cattle. You can't name them free-range cattle. You can't advertise them as vegan, even if you never put any steroids in them, unless you have certain stuff built around it. Why would a cow be a vegan, like basically I don't know, what's it called, a non-antibiotic cow, just because I have a different style of fencing up? That doesn't make sense. It's ridiculous. There's all sorts of these overregulations, and they're fleecing us. I mean, we're seeing all sorts of stuff when we look at this incident in San Antonio recently, where they had the migrant facility that had been open and only been filled for 3 months, and basically it cost us over $1 billion, up to $215 million a year. Here in San Antonio, bipartisan support is showing that this Endeavors organization, which is supposed to be a nonprofit, went from 8 million in holdings to 512 million in holdings. That is fucking sus, and that's why it's being investigated in a bipartisan committee.
Wait, Admiral Gibbs, please. I have one question.
Sure.
Do you think the FDA should not be a thing? Like, do we need no regulations for food? What are your thoughts on that? Just real quick. Just real quick. I don't even want to make this an argument. I just want to hear.
Yeah, I would say, like, I'm not a libertarian. There absolutely needs to be some regulations. There are, like, for as much as I would like to say people are all ethical, there are bad actors. I mean, you also need to, like, watch out for when they try to bulk up cattle specifically, because if you feed them other cattle, which used to be a thing to help them bulk, it develops mad cow because you get prions in the food, and that's part of the reason why you get mad cow. And it's not good. It's like eating cannibalism for humans, right? You get kuru or whatever. And so, yeah, you do need some regulation to watch out for, like, bad actors. Because I'm not a libertarian. I'm a pragmatist. I live in the real world. We do need some regulation, but like over-regulation.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify because I was like, oh, that's very interesting if that was the case. All right. Did you want to respond, and then Professor Whom wants to respond?
Yes. Real quickly. One, can somebody riddle me why, after the crisis of 2008 and the criminal activity done by bankers in the financial system of the United States, we've only seen one banker processed and jailed in the United States, while in Iceland, over, 10, 12 of them were arrested? In this discussion in matters of corruption in the public sector,
Greece.
I will bring another case, the Odebrecht case, that included 12 different countries of this company paying off politicians in Angola, United States, Argentina, Brazil, etc. And yet, where are the accountability towards that? So if we're going to talk about corruption, the first corruption is to be appointed to a position that you're not qualified for, just like what's happening with Elon Musk and this Dodge fantasy thing. So let's be real. The problem is that the course of discussion is not deep enough in the understanding of how corruption impacts public life.
All
And
right.
that the
Thank you. Thank you, Ditso. You're a little bit over time here. Let's see. And then I think Professor Whom wanted to
Really quickly,
jump in. Yes, go right
Mr.
ahead.
Gibbs, can I ask you a couple questions? One, do you think the government is stealing from you?
Yes, absolutely.
Two, do you have a dog?
I have 2 cats.
Have you ever interacted with a dog before?
Yeah, lots of dogs.
When
Yeah, I
a
have
dog
dogs.
is playing with a bone and you take the bone from the dog, do you think the dog thinks you're stealing from him?
Not if you've trained him well.
Right. The government works for you. It builds roads. It doesn't just take your money for the sake of taking your money. There's a purpose behind it. So let me ask you, Mr. Gibbs.
Is the government a Shiba Inu is the question.
Yeah,
Apparently, the Shiba Inu seems to have a better sense of how taxes works.
Unfortunately, you are both out of time. So we've got Tyler, average debate enjoyer. It is your time to shine.
Oh my God, it's been a while. So the benefit of going last is that I get to hear everybody out, and there's a common theme I've heard from every single person that spoke, is everyone's got a boogeyman, and that boogeyman goes back to their prior political beliefs walking into this debate. It's not the billionaires. If you take 100% of their net worth, it can't even pay 1 year of our budget. Home ownership at all-time highest, disposable income. Yeah, $5.7 billion speculated wealth. It's not real money. That's what they're speculating. Can't even pay 1 year of the U.S. budget. Disposable income of household goods is at all-time lows pre-COVID.
Or billionaires.
Household ownership is at all-time high. So I wouldn't say it's rampant abuse of visas. We don't even have 1 million H-1B visas, and companies that have abused it, like IBM and Facebook, have both been charged and convicted in the past. So the rich people aren't stealing from you. It's individual transactions that individuals are giving them. You stop spending your.
Why do they want to remove the cap on H-1B
I
H-1B
didn't remember a
visas?
single person that sat here for half an hour.
Okay, well, good for you.
Let me get a couple sentences out before you go dribble on a little bit more. So it's not the visa program. You said there were millions. There's not even 1 million H-1B visas in the nation.
I don't know if I like this guy's attitude.
Yeah, I don't know
Nathaniel, hush.
So going on to blaming different political groups, it's not the neos. The neos appeal to the center. What we have is, like, it's not the pro-business, pro-worker side. It's the swing. Both these sides are necessary.
Nathaniel, you're funny.
Picking out their bad guy. Everyone's picking out their straw man, evil person that we have to blame this on. When in reality, it's just kind of how government functions. Every 4 to 8 years, we see administrations switch out, priorities get changed, certain things get left over from previous administrations that don't get tied up as loose ends properly. Funding's going out. There's more money spent in errors than anything from our government. So this term, waste, fraud, and abuse, is a colloquial term used long before Trump, long before Biden. Waste, fraud, and abuse doesn't mean it's specifically fraud, doesn't mean it's specific. Most of it falls under like partisan spending you don't agree with. So it'd be waste in that colloquial opinion. But really, all it is like them going in and cutting Democrat programs. You just have to look at it this way. When you see Trump use the migrant protection protocols to fix the asylum system that was broken.
Is it waste to spend $1 million to fly 300 people somewhere? When we could just put them on a...
Hold on. Biden got this problem solved. $20 billion it cost the Biden administration to do what Trump did for free. So what you're looking at is 2 different groups solving a problem the same way. One of them paying out the ass, one of them paying nothing.
All right, Prime Chaos, did you want to respond to that?
Well, to 2 things, I guess I can respond to him as well. But quickly for what Gibbs has said previously, right? He talked about the Endeavor's facility in San Antonio, Texas, right? Don't believe him. First of all, talking about a bipartisan investigation, you've never shown any proof of that, right? I'm still waiting for you to send me that proof. You've never done it. Beyond that, right? Yes, this was an empty facility used to house migrant children, right? The reason why it's empty is because currently, right now, we don't have a huge amount of those children. Now, the reason why you want to hold on to such a facility is because we have migration flow. Sometimes migration goes up, sometimes it goes down. They're being paid to keep that facility in cold storage, right? Until it goes up. Because the last time when we weren't prepared, we were housing migrants in Texas under bridges because we had no place to put them. That's why that facility was there. So it's not waste, fraud, or abuse.
The redundancy. That's the word.
We could actually pause it right there. We do have other questions to get through. So real quick, average debate enjoyer, Admiral Gibbs, Cinetech.
Christina needs to go.
Yes. Penturple, Prime K's, and Professor and Visora. If you could all just for the rest of the question, just let the other contestants
Well,
enjoy
I
some
mean, I was
conversation.
actually responding. Like, I was.
Oh yeah, yeah, I
responding
get
to
that.
comment.
I realized you're good there. Christina has actually not talked yet. If we can let her get her say in, now's the best time to make a good
Sure.
impression.
Can
right
you
here
repeat
at
the instruction? I'm sorry. What were you asking?
Yeah,
me?
just
You and the others?
you'll limit the conversation if possible. You
Okay.
can not interject at all. That'd probably be best for the sake of time. So,
10-4.
Awesome, thank you, Christina.
So yeah, I am one of those people who just blames corporate power on situations like this. I know people who have actually ended up paying more under Trump's tax cuts who are within like the working to middle class area. I do think possibly things would be different had Citizens United happened. I really do think that we're in a time now where it's obvious that anyone can be bought. Anyone. And it's ironic to me, it's funny that people who depend on government assistance are considered moochers, that they're, the bottom, they're scum, they're this, but yet Elon Musk is getting rich off of, government subsidies. Like, I don't understand how he's not a moocher. How a lot of these billionaires, they get all these, subsidies to expand their businesses or keep the money, whatever. I just don't understand why someone on food stamps or someone who's, trying to make ends meet on any type of like disability or welfare or whatever is considered a moocher, but not someone like Elon Musk who his sole purpose of just gaining wealth and nothing more. Like, I don't see how he's helping with Teslas or SpaceX or Twitter even.
All right, Joe, go ahead and respond.
The solution here is we need to have single mothers, the poor. We need to give them fentanyl and have them distribute it, and then they contribute to the economy. Push fent. Don't complain
Let's
about
go.
being broke. Don't complain about being.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe.
How dare you? Just kidding.
Okay. I have created the. I'm creating a poll for chat to vote on. Chat, you will pick 2 people that you would like to see gone, and I encourage you all to not pick people necessarily that you agree the most with, but people that you enjoyed arguing with or enjoyed hearing their arguments the most. So I'm gonna pop this link into chat, and I'm gonna spam it like crazy. And actually, if Dramos is here, can you spam that freaking link? Because I need to keep my clicker here.
Can I take 30 seconds of this time while things are sitting here for a second?
You guys, it's free now. It's free. Go ahead.
I'd like to take a second.
Argue.
Could I just talk to you guys about this album real quick? This is Ween. This is my favorite band.
Let's go. That's some good shit.
This album, like, I love a lot of their albums, but this one, I can't really recommend most of their stuff to normal people as it's the weirdest shit ever, but this thing has actual, like, bangers on it. This will take you on a journey, an experience. And
what's the name of the band? What is the name of the band?
Ween. W-E-E-N.
That's Ween. I thought.
'90s rock, if you can imagine things like Primus and whatnot.
You would
Tyler, I
love
think your
my
opinions-
friend's band.
Gandhi, Let's Talk More Rock. Some old 80s Canadian hardcore
you're
punk.
saying that are-
They're vegan and they rap about, or they
as if,
sing about
that's
like
not-
animal rights and PC
wanna go
fascists
for-
and that sort of thing.
Want to go for Latin American rock? Soda Stereo.
Ooh.
Those are the kings.
Okay, I'm gonna give
you
it
can-
one more minute on the poll, but you go ahead. Keep talking, Ditso.
Okay. You can also listen to Los Fabulosos Cadillacs, both from Argentina. In fact, there's a new guy recently in the last 10 years. It's called Las Criaturitas de la Ansiedad. He's got a song called I in Spanish is Yo no tengo ansiedad, tengo hambre. I do not have anxiety, I have hunger. So it's one of the best songs in matters of anxiety and representation of anxiety. And hell, Soda Stereo. I mean,
Okay.
this is the thing about rock and roll for me. I hear in Spanish, French, English, and I have so much references, and I want to hear that Canadian.
I have
Are
a
they
great
English
Canadian
and French?
band to recommend to people.
I'm waiting on the tiebreaker right now. Currently, unfortunately,
I got the keys to the bus right here, Taylor. Go ahead and start for me. You're out of here, buddy.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Pentuple is unfortunately has 25 votes, but Tyler and Professor Whom are tied. So actually, let's stop the poll now. Tyler and Professor Whom, I want you to both pitch to all of us why you deserve to stay. Tyler, you go ahead first.
Because I drink like 2/3 of this energy drink, and I'm ready to fucking go, baby.
Professor Whom?
Well, I would like to think I have a more nuanced argument. I would like to
think that.
share the gamers' opinions. And if I am voted off, not only will you lose the very valuable opinions that I hold in my head, you will lose the very valuable opinions that all gamers hold in their heart.
Professor Whom, is it true that you have been playing the Switch during this debate?
Wouldn't you like to know, Weather Boy?
Are you a police officer?
Of this stream, yes.
Your Honor, I rest my case.
Okay. All right. Well, the tiebreaker was unnecessary because Professor Whom now has 15 votes, and Tyler still has 14. So, Pentuple and Professor Whom, can you guys shout yourselves out? Thank you both for coming. It has been a pleasure.
Nice to meet you,
was a
Professor
pleasure.
Whom.
Thank you for having me.
Can we keep Pentuple for at least one more round, please?
I just
Go
asked.
ahead and start the bus, Pentuple.
Okay.
Wait, Tyler's actually pulled ahead in the voting.
Start the steal. Start
by
the
one.
steal.
Yeah, the steal has
Stop the
started
steal.
and finished. Stop the steal.
Well, I feel like I already announced it, so I can't.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
I already said this is
You can
who.
always take it back, Charlie. You can always do take backs.
I can't. I feel like I can't do take backsies.
Oh.
I feel like that's not fair to do take
Nathaniel.
backsies.
Just kick Nathaniel. Fuck.
We're not.
Canadian. Fuck him.
I'm not Canadian, you motherfucker. Don't ever put that on my fucking name again.
All right. I feel like because I already called it, it feels unfair to.
You don't need to be CNN, Charlie.
I am being.
The polls are closing early. This is unfair.
Once the people speak
Charlie, they're up by
and vote,
Hey, we're storming the Capitol.
that's evident.
Exercising your views right now, Chuck.
Okay,
They
hold on.
want Tyler out of here.
Hold on, bro. Once the people vote and speak, that's definite. So, what the poll says, the poll goes.
All right.
Wait, I'm getting some mail-in ballots. I just got.
Yeah, you're counting the mail-ins after election day. Hold on.
I already called it. It has to be what it
Half
is.
of,
So
half
thank
of
you,
my chat
Pentuple,
didn't
and
understand how it
Professor
worked.
Thank you
Whom.
for
Oh,
having
I'm
me.
sorry.
That's okay.
I
They'll get it
will-
next time.
Okay. Apologies. The
Is
first
that a
one was
threat?
Iterative process.
Thank you both for coming, and I hope that you will join us again.
I'll be back.
All right. Thank you,
Peace.
Pentuple. Thank you, Professor Whom.
Get to the chopper. Get to the chopper.
Start the steal. Start the steal.
Start the
Oh my
steal.
gosh.
Gamers rise up.
Professor Whom, you were
Hey,
based.
Chad, it's all
Nice
over
to meet
again.
ya.
We're storming the cute mansion at dawn.
You're not- Okay. Thank you both. All right.
I can't believe that the voice of the people, the voice of the gamers, was silenced. Can we have a moment of silence for Professor?
I know.
This is
sorry, I'm
fascism.
sorry. Next time, I'm gonna have like a strict 3-minute rule. I'll do a timer just so I can like.
First they
Make
came
sure
for
I'm
the
not-
gamers, then they came for the biddies, then they came for the burritos.
Oh,
Isn't there a way to disable the poll like after a certain amount of time? So
I could also. That is also possible. Maybe I don't know actually how to end the poll. It's straw poll. I don't even think it lets me end it. It'll just be up there forever and ever
much
and
straw.
ever and ever. All right.
oversupply of straw. That's the problem.
Overs indeed. All right. Next question. I feel like we already touched a lot on Doge. But let me just, the Department of Government Efficiency's newest tactic is to cut jobs in the public sector. This includes the Department of Education, the Small Business Administration, the U.S. General Services Administration, the U.S. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the Department of Defense, the Internal Revenue Service, the Department of the Interior, the Veterans Affairs Administration, the Department of Housing and Development, the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Energy, the Federal Aviation Administration, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and NASA. Sorry, I just wanted to read all of those out because some of these are a little strange. The cuts are a little strange, in my opinion. Will this strategy of reducing staff positively benefit Americans? Who wants to start?
Can I start? Because I'll take like 10 seconds.
Okay,
yes,
Peter Franley.
That's what I tell the ladies.
Same. This is a pretty easy one. This is fucking awful. There's literally nothing good that comes out of this. Just off of education alone, nothing good comes out of this. But no, it's fucking ridiculous. This is one extra step towards literal, possibly worse than Nazi fascism. We should be afraid and armed.
All right, anyone have a response?
I do.
Okay, Nathaniel?
All right. So obviously I'm an anti-austerity person, but there's some cuts that I do like that Doge has made. I hate that name. I think it's stupid.
It is stupid.
But I think cutting USAID, beautiful, good. We should have done that a long time ago. It's a CIA front used to like overthrow communist regimes in South America that you've never heard of before. I don't think I don't think that the last guy that talked really understands what fascism is. I don't think like cutting government funding is necessarily inherently fascistic. I mean, I think fascism is an economic system above a social system anyways. I don't think it's authoritarian either. But anyways, I'm not a big fan of austerity, not a huge fan of Elon Musk at all, actually. I actually think bad things should happen to Elon Musk soon.
Not in what is that game that you play for him?
In Roblox.
In the least fed-post way.
I hope that he loses. Like, what's a safe, edgy insult like thing to say? I hope he steps on a Lego.
What's the game that he paid
Nathaniel, did you know that he was on the floor crying in Trump's lap the other day? Someone in existence has a video of Donald Trump sitting on the floor with Elon Musk laying in his lap as Trump pets his head, saying it's going to be okay, while Elon's sobbing.
I don't think we should attack him based on that. He's autistic. He might have been having a meltdown.
I'm autistic.
And I don't want to hold that. I am too, but
or that could be
attack his masculinity for him crying.
Yeah, actually, thank you. So the manner in which we do these cuts matter, right? So there are going to be some cuts that maybe all of us could agree, right? Our conservative friends and our leftist friends could probably agree on, but that doesn't matter. The manner in which we do this actually does. Congress has the power of the purse. Congress decides which agency gets funding, which one does not, right? What they're doing is undermining Congress's role, even when they have a Congress that completely agrees with them, right? It's a Republican Congress in both houses. They can get a lot of these things done through that process. The reason why they're not is because two things. One, those congressmen don't want to vote for cutting Social Security, right? They don't want to vote for these unpopular things, but also they want to put forward the unitary executive theory, in which case, and put it very simply, right, the executive is essentially a king. He is unchecked by the other branches of government. That is the goal, and that's why it's a problem. Not simply because they're cutting, but because of how they're cutting. Done.
So, if I may drop in real quickly, I'm going to set it up in the following way. There's no worse act of corruption than being appointed to a position you're not qualified for. That's what we're seeing with Elon Musk.
You're repeating yourself, man.
I'm going to make the point. Please do not interrupt. So, in this sense, all of us who live in the Constitution.
Joe.
Sure, to you, maybe.
The pear wiggler. Go ahead, did so.
Okay, yeah. So, all of us who live in constitutional republics worry about how our government spent the taxes we give, how they spend the money that they're supposed to give to all of us.
Our money.
Access to roads, access to water, etc. Our money. Historically, let's be real, taxes in the United States became a thing because of war. One of the first instances of taxes, proposal of taxes, was Washington and Thomas Jefferson. They wanted to tax liquor to pay off the Independence War. That being said, why are you not attending the 800 billion budget of your military? Why aren't you attending the expenditure of $4 trillion that happened in Afghanistan, or the almost $3 trillion you spent in the war on drugs since the era of Nixon? You want better things, and you, like the rest of us, you want to have your day by day having good electricity, having good water, having accessibility and sovereignty of food. Well, dodge. You just put a D on it, and it becomes dodgy. Those dodgy appointed individuals are there not to make things better, but to make the pockets of those few richer.
All right, thank you, Ditso. I did notice that Christina had her hand up, then Bagel, and then Visora.
Yeah, so I think Doge is just one of the worst things to come out of the Trump administration. Of course, Elon's not an elected official. Again, Congress has the authority to do all what they're trying to do. I do worry about them having the Social Security and then firing people who are probably in charge of keeping our Social Security private. We need all these these little government stuff, all these places within the government that are getting cut. But also, too, what is interesting to me is that you need employees. You need employees. My mom and I clean houses. Imagine if you're cleaning a giant building, like a 3-story mansion. Do you think only 2 women could get that house done in one day? No, you're gonna need a lot more. So I don't like the idea of cutting back on employees, because you need these people to keep these places functioning. I just don't understand how you can have less employees. I mean, look at Twitter. Just look at Twitter. That gives you a clear example how less employees means things are not going to function well. And they are also rehiring a lot of people as well. So it really goes to show that you can't cut back on employees. You can't be cutting into Social Security. You can't be doing any of this again without Congress's approval.
All right, Bagel.
So I want to offer a little bit of experience, I guess, on Elon Musk's background, right? He has an entire lifetime of working within venture capital. It's where he got rich. It's how he got rich. It's why he's still rich. And venture capital is the type of environment where it's a really good thing to move fast and break things, to disrupt, right? And it's also an environment where you can trade short-term cost gains for potential long-term down the road things, and just think, oh, we can figure that out later, right? That's 2 of the hallmarks of VC in general. And I see him doing both of those things with the government, which sucks, because the government is going to last hopefully more than a couple more years, and things are going to start breaking down. And they're going to start breaking down, by the way, over a multi-year, multi-decade span after Donald Trump gets out. Whoever is next and whoever's after that has to deal with sweeping up.
To add on to their point, right? So we saw exactly Elon Musk's playbook in Doge also happened in Twitter, right? In terms of firing people by email, right? Demanding that they justify their jobs and within 5 simple questions, right? And telling people to come back to work. But then because not actually planning for it, there not actually being enough space for people to work, right? And then not having custodial staff come back either. So now your office space smells like crap. This entire game plan, he literally did it for Twitter. Just look back there and you'll see what's happening now.
All right, Visora.
I had a couple things that I wanted to say. I could actually go on about this for a long, long time. So one, the Pentagon has never passed an audit. Congress does not know how much money the Pentagon uses and spends. It has literally never passed an audit. So that would be a good place to look for cuts, first of all. Instead of, let's say, Medicare, Social Security, and Medicaid, they want $4 trillion in tax cuts. If you look at the entire US budget and you do the math, you can't get $4 trillion in tax cuts without either cutting the military budget or Social Security. You can't do it. It's just not possible. You have to do one or the other. You could cut Social Security and Medicare and not touch the military, though, which is what we're doing. Secondly, I wanted to say, for unqualified for the job, Elon Musk is literally an unelected bureaucrat, which is what half of MAGA yells about every fucking day, like over and over and over again. Secondly, Donald Trump's not qualified for his job either. He's a convicted felon. So he's a convicted felon and a convicted sex offender, so not qualified for the job. Although actually sex offender kind of does help him get qualified. Drug war wise, we spent an incredible amount of money on the drug war. Right now, Claudia Sheinbaum, president of Mexico, is suing the United States because we're claiming that the fentanyl coming in from Mexico is being, that the Mexican government is working with the drug cartels to bring fentanyl into Mexico. America sells 78% of the cartel's weapons to them. 78% of the guns that the drug cartels in Mexico have come from the United States, and the government of Mexico is suing us for this. So maybe if we're worried about, spending money on the drug war, saving people from fentanyl, we could stop funding the drug cartels, for example. Maybe we could make friends with our neighboring allies countries, and so we can work together.
You mean the Mexican government that works hand in hand with the drug cartels?
They don't. That was the prior Mexican government, not this one. This one is actually gone out of their way. These guys have gone out of their way to crack down on them. Claudia Sheinbaum has an 85% approval rating.
And what has she done to curb the cartels in Mexico? Do you have any specific
One quick sec.
Go for it.
Sorry. The same drug war that was set up by Nixon pushed through the United Nations and that has cost your country over $3 trillion. What has your country done to stop the drugs and the usage of drugs being one of the major countries of using drugs in the last 60 years?
Let me continue that.
Very little. Is put black people in jail.
Let me answer the question that I was asked. What did Mexico do? They sent soldiers up to the border. They worked with the United States government in finding out intel about drug cartels, reporting activity that might be crossing into the United States.
Are located on the border?
No, they're not.
They need to be sending their soldiers.
They sent them to the border to stop them from coming into the United States. That's why they're at the border.
Visora, can I ask you a question? If what you're saying is true along the border, how come is it that the Mexican military refused to engage on the 3 different islands that Texas had to take to remove the cartels when we have videos of them?
Was this before?
We have lots of videos. Hold on. We have little videos of them moving people across. We have Coyote. We watched Coyote. We literally had the clearance, sure, pre-Sheinbaum, but they did. This was the Mexican government, and she had the authority. And why did Texas have to go in there and clear this out if it's not rampant corruption?
Can I ask you when this happened? Was this after?
It was right before Sheinbaum.
Pre-Sheinbaum.
I mean, you're arguing that. Hold on, let me ask you a question. You're arguing, though. This is your argument, right? You're arguing that Sheinbaum took over, corruption basically ended. That's like
I did not say
Trump
that.
Takes over and corruption ends for Biden.
I didn't say
Biden
corruption ended.
And all the Trump people are.
I said that she's combating the corruption. She worked with the United States government. And by the way, the only thing that Trump got out of her was the same deal that Biden did.
All right. Hey, everyone.
To the United States after we threatened tariffs.
Okay, hold up. The question was about Doge. And while I do think that this is actually very interesting because I don't really know too much about the Mexican government, I'd like to stay on Doge.
Speaking of, because the point was coming from the Pentagon and Pentagon spending, including like why Doge isn't cutting that. Just my last point on here, we've been using Ospreys to send to the border. Like these planes cost an immense amount of money to fly. The most expensive plane that we have to fly, using them in the country. These planes are they're helicopter plane hybrids. They're meant for areas that are difficult to reach. They require a lot.
Than an F-35, lady.
Not to make it, the maintenance.
You don't even know what you're talking about.
I do, actually.
Shit boxes.
They are shit boxes. That's my point. So we're flying them in the country. Yes, that's my point. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's stupid that we're using these. They're shit boxes. They require a lot of money for maintenance, and they're built for landing in difficult terrain that like a helicopter or a plane can't get to. We're using them in the country, not even to other countries.
All right, I'm gonna call time here. Tyler, I thought you were holding a vape this whole time. Have you had your hand up? I'm so sorry. I thought that's okay.
Interrupt or anything.
No, it's okay.
I've hosted. I understand your plight here.
I'm new to it, so I apologize if I am.
You're doing
I'm
fantastic.
trying.
I just didn't
I'm
want to interrupt.
trying. Okay, go ahead, Tyler.
All right, so I've heard a lot of stuff about fascism, Elon Musk's personal life, how stupid Doge is, the Mexican government auditing the Pentagon. I was just going to talk about the pros and cons of reducing staff through Doge and cuts to the government. Like, I thought that was the question, so I guess my answer is going to be kind of boring by comparison, but like starting with the pros, it's less spending. That's kind of what right-wingers like about it. That's what they ran on, and that's what Trump promised. He campaigned with Elon, so he kind of knew something like this was coming. And the other pro of it is there's just less buildings, less need for information to travel between agencies. The whole reason for the agency that Tulsi Gabbard's the head of is because post 9/11 there wasn't good communication between government executive agencies. So we started putting somebody in charge of that. We have less agencies, less need for communication, information spreads faster and better. If we had that, we wouldn't have seen that fake Trump-Russia hoax against him because the agencies would have communicated and known there was no collusion going on between the campaign and Russia at the time. Things of
This
that
guy's
nature.
arguing that if you take away jobs and you take away people working in the government, that communication's somehow going to get better.
It will get more efficient.
This makes zero sense.
Absolutely, we'll get more efficient than it has in the past. This is the conservative argument behind it. Anyways, that's just a pro for it. The downsides, and again, I'm generally against this. The downsides of this are when we need all hands on deck, we don't have all hands. I'm just trying to give a good faith argument of what could be potential upside. But when we get rid of those people, as soon as we have a fucking emergency, they're not there anymore. We can't pull them in to have them. The government's not supposed to be run like a business specifically for that reason. I want my government to invest in future problems that a business wouldn't because of potential bad things that could happen. So if we move into like the fact that Elon Musk is moving so fast, he's making mistakes, I think he's the perfect person to come in. He went into a rocket science company. He went into an electric vehicle company. He completely gutted these from the ground up like he did with Twitter, found out how they work, and made them much more efficient. That is not how I want the government to be run. It's not how it's supposed to be run. We're supposed to have the government spending in a way that Prime was suggesting, where we have it there in case we need it. We don't want the government to overspend in that instance as well, because if you have to scramble, then you have to overspend. So I would rather have a prepared overspending government personally. I think overall, this is reducing the staff is not good.
All right, iCow Rich.
Yeah, I just want to give an example of what Tyler was talking about because there was a time when Trump cut something and then wasn't there for us when we needed it. In 2018, we had 4 offices in Wuhan. One of them was run by the CDC, one was the NIH, one was the National Science Foundation, and the third one was the USDA, which was inspecting specifically bats, but also other kinds of meat that was being consumed by people. And they were all working on potential coronavirus problems that might arise. And the reason they were doing that was because in 2000, when the first coronavirus hit, which we called SARS at the time, we were able to stamp it out because we had the CDC in Wuhan at the time, and we were able to help China stamp it out. Obama foolishly reduced funding for that program and then saw some of the effects of that during his administration, and so he increased funding and made it into 4 offices. Trump cut that funding in 2018. And I remember watching the press conference where the press was asking him about that, and he literally said, "There's not going to be a pandemic. That's ridiculous. And even if there is, then we can restore funding to all this prevention stuff afterwards, as if you can prevent it after it's already happened." So those people weren't there. And then in 2019, when everything was rising in China, we didn't have people on the ground in Wuhan to tell us what was going on. And we weren't able to help China stamp it out in its early stages when we could have done it when we did it before in 2001, 2002. And because we're just firing people because we don't fully understand what they do, and that's clearly what Elon's doing. He doesn't understand the jobs. He's already had to rehire a bunch of people.
You didn't know that Social Security uses SQL.
Yeah, that's right. That was what that whole, Yeah, because because their years they keep track of years starting in 1875, which is why there were a whole bunch of people there that looked like they were 150 years old. Yeah, it was because of that. But also, just today, breaking news on this. Just today, a federal judge has said, because we had a court decision last week that said that they can't just get rid of the funding because it was authorized by Congress and the president doesn't by himself have that authority. But then just today, it said you also can't get rid of the infrastructure inside of USAID because you have to restore all of that, because abolishing all of that stuff has to come from within inside the USAID itself, from people that have been there for a long time, and B, from Congress.
All right, Admiral Gibbs, I think I saw your hand up.
Yeah, so someone earlier mentioned the military having a lot of bloat, right, and not passing audits. I think the Marine Corps is the only branch to ever pass an audit. I actually agree with the statement. I think that the DOGE is a good thing for, checking into things like the military. They need to go in there and audit these people so that we can see exactly where the money's being sent. We shouldn't be paying $13,000 for a coffee cup. We shouldn't be paying $300 for a pencil. I also want to point out that there are things that need to be cut that I think we can all agree on corruption. I know that people generally don't like the idea of Doge because they don't like the people at the top, which is Elon and Trump as the oversight. But let's look at something like the VA. No veteran likes the VA, and it's an unequivocal fact. You can ask them. I've never met a veteran that likes the VA. When we look at the VA, we know for a fact, we know this is not even debatable, they had orgies at one of the places on the VA dollar, on their property, and one of the guys had up to sex with up to 30 people there. This is being paid for by your tax dollars. If this doesn't make you mad as hell, and you don't want this cut, whether you're right or left, that's crazy. These people are literally stealing from the American people, and Doge is the answer to this. Just like Bernie was the answer.
Not gonna lie,
Wait. Can I actually let me interject real quick? I don't think that orgies was on the official budget for the VA, right? We're not saying orgies were the
He was angry at that orgy, okay? And he was angry about
this is a misappropriation of funds. They were
exactly.
Have you heard of the congressional orgy budget, Charlie?
Honestly, I think this is based.
I even have my mask for the next orgy ready over here, but that's not the point.
I think all government agencies should require orgies.
I'm ready to go, but.
I agree.
But the point I'm making is, yes, it's exactly what you just said, Charlie. It is misappropriation of funds. That's what DOJ is supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be going in, they're supposed to be auditing, they're supposed to be making recommendations, and then Trump gives it to the department heads, and they fire. This is like we want. As a Republican, I know y'all don't like it, but do y'all not want this to stop where your money is misspent on things like orgies or $13,000 coffee cups?
Why would a defense contractor cut his own profit?
Next month.
I'll answer that very quickly, right?
Citation needed.
I guess. Sure. Just one thing to Visora's thing. This is kind of like Dave Chappelle made this joke. And the joke was Trump came out during the debate with Hillary and said everything that's happening in that house is true, right? And Hillary goes, hey, guess what? You are not paying taxes. He goes, it's because you wrote the tax code, and I'm using the tax code you wrote. Listen, Elon is a billionaire. He does have American tax dollars pay his bill. If anybody knows what to cut, it's the guy that's been taking the American
the guy who's getting $38 billion.
I'll do this question directly. So, what's the appeal behind RFK, right? The reason why people would like him going to HHS is because he's outside of the pharma industry, right? He's an outsider. He's going to make changes. So, in that case, why would you trust one of the biggest defense contractors in the world to cut the Department of Defense, right? This is where he makes his money. This is where he has his conflicts of interest. No, I don't trust Elon Musk to make the necessary cuts there. Now, I'm going to watch to see what he does here because he's just getting started with DOD, but I don't have very high hopes at all.
There's your argument right there. Yep.
I haven't heard anything from Joe or Cinetech yet, and I think Nathaniel has only commented on planes and the cartels. So let's start with Joe.
So, two brief things. The first is, if you look at Vivek's original dream for what Doge was, it was not to cut staff, it was to reduce regulatory burdens. I think that would have been a better idea than cutting staff alone. I don't have an issue with seeking out corruption. I also think, unfortunately, the Congressional Orgy Fund ran dry when Epstein did not kill himself. So we're kind of fucked. So that's all I got.
Thank you,
I'm
Joe.
upset that I wasn't included, honestly. That's the only thing that bothers me.
All right, Cinetech.
I agree with most people here that using the taxpayer money more judiciously is a laudable goal. Again, I agree that the way that it's being done is the problem without adequate oversight. One, respect for policies and procedures, due process, in other words, that was set up to avoid specifically firing of government workers who are non-political government workers, the bureaucrats, people would call them, but the people that have technical expertise in these particular departments. They're there, and there are certain protections against political firing of these people. Those are being bypassed. Things like union agreements are being bypassed unilaterally without any sort of negotiation. So that's another problem. But yeah, the big problem is just how they're doing it. They're taking the chainsaw. They're not using a scalpel. When I've seen new leaders come into a company and try to get their feet under them, usually there's a period of time where they try to learn how things work before going and laying off a bunch of people. The fact that they didn't take the time to try to even understand what they're cutting before they started cutting kind of shows a level of unseriousness about how they're approaching the whole thing.
All right. Does anyone want to add on to that? Nathaniel.
I had one more thing to say. Like, obviously, we brought up a whole bunch that Elon is one of the primary recipients of government contracts, and I think he said something about wanting to cut like 500,000 federal jobs. If you kick 500,000 people to the curb, you know what you get? You get a recession. But I just think it's like so ridiculous that people are lauding Elon doing this like whole austerity thing. Like it's like if you had a criminal case and you like if someone was on trial for rape and you had a rapist as the prosecutor, that's literally like what Elon doing this whole austerity thing is. I think it's fucking ridiculous.
All right, I am going to I'm gonna create the poll right now, and then I am going to oh fuck me, I think I just did it wrong.
Redo it.
Nah, it's fine. I think it'll work. I'm gonna spam this and then I'm gonna start the timer. Okay, and if Dramos is in here, could you actually, Spidey, could you do the timer? Thank you. Okay, open floor. Yep, 3 minutes.
My dog.
Okay, awesome.
My dog's name is Charlie. I totally forgot about that until like right now. This is not.
Okay,
Well, actually, this isn't my dog. This is my sister's dog. But she's named after Charlie XCX.
I love her.
Your poll only lets you pick one.
I know. It only,
Oh,
just
okay.
roll with
Just roll
it.
with it. Charlie struggles with technology sometimes, guys.
I'm incompetent.
Charlie's a boomer.
Hold on, I just want to put something on the board. We went into the war of drugs. I propose for a future debate. We can go into that point, and I can stand on it because I've been working on this for 13 years of my life, 15 years of my life. The drug war is one of the prime responsibilities of the United States, and it's one of the major factors where we, Latin America, suffer the most. So fundamentally, why
Fuck America.
Why aren't we establishing the U.S.-based cartels of U.S. citizens who negotiate with the cartels of Mexico as terrorists? Somebody riddle me that one.
Also, I just
And
want to
that's a beautiful
say, 'cause someone like made a joke when you said you're from South America. Do you guys not understand that no country is an island unto itself, and that anything that happens literally anywhere affects other things?
Technically, Australia is an island.
Okay, Australia is an island unto itself, but not
And really
not in
far
the way,
away too.
but
Like,
not
honestly,
in
you
the way
don't
that I
really
mean.
like.
The point
It's a
here
continent.
is that anything that you do that messes up, I don't know, the stability of a country near you, let's say, one that you maybe do a lot of trade with, like Mexico, because we import a lot of food from Mexico, destabilizing this country is bad for America.
It has hurt the avocado markets, I will say that.
You know, it's not just avocados, right? It's most of your fruit and vegetables. About 70% of fruit
I
and
live in
vegetables.
California. It doesn't really matter to me.
My mom was like, "Have you looked into the fruits when we're grocery shopping? There's hardly any fruits and vegetables." And I'm like, "Gee, I wonder why."
Oh, also oranges are gone. Florida can't
Perfect
support
segue to
them
the
anymore.
topic of tariffs. Say that for later.
And I live in Costa Rica. I go outside. I have close by avocado trees. I have oranges. I have mangoes.
Damn, you're making me hungry.
Lucky, toss one over here, bruh.
I know how it is. Look, we had a fight Costa Rica with Mexico because of the avocados. Because we like the Hass avocado, which is the type of avocado that is exported from Mexico. That's just one type. Throughout all Central America, there's about 55 types of avocados that some are even better than the Hass because the Hass is a genetically modified avocado. But for example,
They're
you
all
have
genetically modified.
the peer. No, actually,
really?
No,
we
I
have
mean
the
like
peer-
every domesticated crop is synthetically
Time
modified. I mean,
yeah, well, most
All right, that is time. So at the top we have another tie actually. So we have Admiral Gibbs with 12 votes, and then we have Tyler and Visora both with 9 votes. So the voting is over. Voting is over now. Goodness gracious.
Balls of fire.
Should we flip a coin?
Wait, where's my
Should we
coin?
leave it to chance?
I think you should make them make
Chances
the worst
biased.
ad hominem attacks against each other. And
Probably not.
vote on which
Give
one's
them a
better.
30-second lightning round.
They should
Final
attack
arguments.
each other on appearance.
How about actually let's have you all vote. Let's have you all vote.
That was what I was gonna say, but we all message like Spidey privately with our votes.
Yeah, message Spidey.
Are me and Tyler voting?
Spidey privately.
Are me and Tyler?
I don't trust
This is like
Charlie.
Survivor. This is just like Survivor. I've been watching Survivor.
Votes have shifted again.
Who am I voting between?
People, or are we just
Yeah, please. Who are we voting
We are
between?
kicking 2. You are going to vote between
Then we have 2 people
Visora.
tied. Then why are we voting?
No. Admiral Gibbs is the top.
Second and third were tied.
Yeah,
Well,
second
while
and
y'all
third.
vote,
Wait, so
While you're voting.
who's the other one?
But
than
it's not tied
Visora?
anymore.
Visora is smart. I don't want to vote against her.
So it's
Visora, an
Tyler.
average debater.
It's Tyler versus Visora. So what the
Oh,
contestants
Glasses
are going to
versus
do?
glasses.
Yes, but
I can
what
take
the
mine off.
contestants- and both really good too. So I'm like very confused why they're being voted off.
as well.
It's
I'm sorry, wait, who is it
Actually,
again?
Like 2 of the most entertaining people here.
Heidi,
This
I
sucks.
just DM'd you Tyler.
Well, thank you, Charlie.
That's my vote.
Can I choose to
debate panel?
I didn't say the most. I just said 2 of the most. Okay,
I was
so
gonna take off
DM,
another
anything
clip.
but
Three are very
I just
entertaining.
screamed.
Confirmed.
DM Spidey, Tyler
Well,
or Visora, and Spidey will announce.
Just for the record, I'm taking off an article of clothing every round.
Oh,
I feel like if we're playing that game, I kind of win, don't I?
Well,
I don't know what the demographic is.
listen, so I'm getting kicked.
Stop the steal. Stop the steal.
Enjoyed it, guys. Yeah, I've enjoyed it, guys. I'm gonna go I got my orgy outfit on. I'm ready to go. Yeah,
It's
big
government
fan.
sponsored.
See you,
Yeah, I'm
Gibbs.
excited. I do want to say one thing. I always find it funny whenever we complain about oversight and then we don't complain about Biden not being at the helm with this Ottoman thing. Anyway, on that note, check out Outnumbered
I do agree
tomorrow
with you there.
at 7:30 Central. Y'all be good. Yeah, see? I knew we could find common ground this morning. Y'all have a great SL's night. Thank you so
I
much.
love you, Gibbs.
Thank you,
Good luck.
Gibbs.
Eyes wide shut.
Thank you for
Give
inviting
one
us.
citation on that orgy thing.
Eyes wide shut.
I still think that every government agency should be required to do orgies.
I
I think he
Required
found
is-
what he
is
was
a-
talking
is
about,
a-
and it was not what he was.
Not everyone
think
who
they
works
just-
there. It's
Only
just
if-
they have
only
to
if it's
host one.
filmed
Can we put
on
Diddy in
Little
charge
St. James?
of the
Honestly, wait. Hold on.
Mossad
Imagine this.
blackmail.
Imagine, it's by law, all of the agencies have to host an orgy, but none of the people who work there have to participate. The sad orgies at some of these agencies.
I mean, it's
The question
confirmed
is,
that they have at the
are-
RNC sex orgy, drug-fueled naked sex parties. I remember watching about Watergate, and I was like, when I found that out, I'm like, oh, Master Cawthorn was right.
Okay, so my question is,
Spidey, have you received all of the secret votes?
No, Bagel, Cinetech, and iCal. I'm still waiting on you guys, and it's tied right now. By the
Oh
way.
my god.
Hey, Intertech, Bagel, and iCal, please DM Spidey on Discord.
Oh,
I have a political proposal. I do support getting rid of DEI generally. However, we need DEI for the orgy parties. So put Diddy in charge of the orgy parties.
No. Hard no.
That's a terrible.
Why do you like this?
I'm proposing
So
something.
you are
I'm enjoying the
addicted to
chaos,
saying
personally.
upsetting things
I would
today.
say half of the government needs to
I'm sorry, Charlie.
a legal.
Charlie, you
Okay.
need
Wait. What did so? I need to hear what Ditso say.
Hold on. Half of the government should have Caligula Roman style orgies, and the other half Greek style orgies.
I like it.
So every 6 months,
I'm gonna need to hear the difference.
Change.
Yeah, that was my thought too.
The Greeks are a bit gayer.
Which one's the one with the little boys?
That's the Romans.
That's the Romans.
I'm pretty sure it was
Also
both
the
of them.
Spartans.
So one person does refuse to vote, and then I haven't gotten anything from Bagel. I don't know.
Bagel, you are the last vote.
But if you
Visora or
vote,
Tyler?
you could tie up the score. So.
Oh shit.
Do we stop the count?
Well, am I getting voted out? Because if so, then we don't stop the count. And if I'm not getting voted out, then we do stop the count.
All right, then I guess we don't stop the
Should
count.
we put like a timer on this voting too? I mean, like,
It's tied again.
Bagel, would
Okay.
you like to vote, Bagel, or would you like to forfeit your vote?
I just got back from pissing. I don't have any strong opinions one way or the other. I'm sorry.
We should let Charlie decide that.
Okay, all right,
Hold on.
Spidey.
We needed a tiebreaker. All the votes are in now. This one person came through, and Tyler, I'm so sorry, man. But
Thank you,
time is
Tyler.
limited.
Thank you, Tyler. Good to see
Can I do
you.
a plug?
Thank you, Tyler.
Yes, please.
Fun, Tyler.
Please.
Thank you.
So tomorrow night, WIC TV, I spent about 18 months developing a housing policy based on left-wing housing policies of the past, and then looking at Hershey City, which is like the ideal right-wing housing policy, and merging them together. We're having the think tank on WIC TV tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern. After that, we're going to run it in front of a Republican panel, then bring in professionals to kind of forge it into a real policy using people on the internet, open source. If you are interested, DM me. I'm looking for all creators that just, want to check it out, maybe have put their 2 cents in. It's a cool thing. As many people that want to get in can. And then Thursday night, best goddamn stream podcast on Admiral Gibbs' channel at 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
All right, thank you, Tyler. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Sayonara, bitch.
Thank you, Tyler.
Who said that? Who said sayonara, bitch?
The Canadian said it.
Who's
Who's
Canadian?
guy. I don't know what his issue is. He's saying all sorts of nasty things.
These Quebecois, man, I swear.
All right, all right. Okay, next we've lost all of our conservatives.
Oh, Tyler's
Good.
DMing you.
Stop,
He's still
sucker.
mad.
We need to bring one back.
You have it. You're looking.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. You're gonna have to step it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He should be immune for the next 3 rounds, so we can have a little bit of balance.
Devil's advocate.
Yeah, you're all allowed to play devil's advocate. You do not have to argue for the things that you truly believe in. You are so welcome. You can lie. We love to
We talk
lie.
about the homeless now. When are we making the homeless grinder machine?
All right. Thank you, Peter Family.
We need to force all of
that comes after the wellness
Yes,
camps.
homeless on Grindr? What?
Okay, wait. Question. Here's the question. The Supreme Court of the United States, under Justice Roberts, has released decisions that are deeply unpopular with the American people, namely, official acts by the president granting immunity to criminal prosecution, legalized gratuity given to officials, i.e. bribery, Snyder versus United States, shifting of federal regulatory powers over the judicial branch, Chevron deference. In your view, do these decisions reflect the people's will, and are they problematic? Who would like to start? Visora, I saw your hand first.
Cool. Thank you. So official acts wise, I want to say 70% of America generally does not like the fact that the president can have full on immunity from everything. In the actual link that you had in that document, page 6, there's a quote that says, quote, "The president enjoys absolute immunity, comma, he is above the law. No accountability, maximizes corruption, and Americans don't want corruption." Then it comes to gratuity. This is just legalizing bribery. Same that document, page 12. Gratuities don't require quid pro quo is a quote. So what? Like we can just bribe folks now? That's cool. I mean, we had already had the bribery in our elections, which we seem to all mostly agree on. Money in politics is a bad thing. Now you can just bribe openly when you're already elected. You know that we can bribe Supreme Court officials because they don't have any oversight. And Chevron deference is just empowering unelected bureaucrats. Americans don't want this. 35% of America trust the courts. 35%. So on the will of 35% of the country, Chevron deference was removed, giving power to unelected bureaucrats who are loyalists to the actual president instead of doing their job as they did before in an unbiased way, because they weren't looking for election. They were unelected as well. They were also bureaucrats, but they weren't working for the president. They were working for their agency. And now if they say anything that remotely makes their president uncomfortable, they're gone. So no, I don't think any of these work for the American people. I don't think the American people actually want any of these. Maybe they do because they don't have a proper understanding. But I feel like if anyone read these documents and saw what's in them and was educated enough to know what's going on and how the political systems work, they would agree. Any one of you, I think, would agree if you read the document from start to finish.
Yeah, but the point of just judicial system is not necessarily to reflect the view of the American people, right? Like, if that were the case, they wouldn't have voted for certain civil rights cases, right? So that's a completely separate. Now, again, I agree with you that these are bad decisions. I think they will have massive detrimental consequences to the public going forward. However, that's never necessarily the point. So it's always kind of a tough way to look at the court that way. However, if you want to talk about like reforming the court, right? Like how can the court actually reflect the people? Or do we actually even want that in the first place, right? Because at some points in time, the majority wants awful things to happen. So like these are the questions I think are a bit more interesting, right? Like should the court reflect the will of the people? Is that a good thing? Or should it be away from like the
unbiased,
the machinations of what's happening? Whatever popular at the moment.
Yeah, and to that point, like when the Chevron deference ruling came down, I remember having to explain to all the kids on my debate squad that it won't necessarily have the impact that you think it's going to have, because what Chevron deference was it was the ability of agencies and departments underneath the president to be able to make changes.
Oh,
first place.
Sorry, I messed up there.
Yeah, that's okay. So, yeah, Chevron deference, this decision that came out from the court, yeah, a lot of people thought, okay, that's going to be bad for Democratic presidents who want to affect change or adapt to the modern world and change all these rules without having to go back to Congress every single time there's some new update. But at the moment, Chevron deference, and I'm not saying this is going to be the way it is forever, but at the moment, Chevron deference is going to, if anything, get in the way of the Trump administration. Now, a lot of these decisions that Doge wants to make might run afoul of this ruling, because now they're going to be told, and you got to back to Congress for that. You no longer have the ability to make these choices. So this is maybe a fortuitous, maybe accidental even, because it came from conservatives, sort of decision that was coming. Sometimes we don't know the full long-term consequences of the decisions that we get made, and the things that help you in 1 year might hurt you in the next year.
Very good point.
Christina had her hand up.
Yeah. So I think we should just abolish the Supreme Court. I know they talk about expanding the court, but at this point, I just don't understand why these people are not making decisions that are in our best interest at all.
They're wizards.
They're not.
I completely agree. In fact, we should abolish the entire government.
I agree.
And start to govern ourselves.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think you're kind of arguing for what Trump hopes. I mean, I think Trump.
This is not.
And no, he's hoping for fascism. I'm hoping for anarchy. There's a difference.
Our government runs more closely to that of a Taliban Afghan warlord.
Nathaniel, what did you... Wait, let's let Christina finish.
The thing that will save us right now would be the courts. If the only thing that's going to be able to slow Trump down right this second is the court.
Tom Homan was on TV today saying, "I don't care about the courts."
It's happening right now.
Now, I can, if you want to reform it, I think there are interesting ways to reform the institution. But just getting rid of judges, that'd be a problem.
But yeah, I'm just being sarcastic, guys. Don't worry.
Okay, all right, never mind.
But the thing is that the Democrats are really not doing anything. It's up to the courts. But what's Trump doing? He's ignoring what's going on because the Supreme Court again granted him total and complete immunity. So it doesn't matter what the circuit courts are trying to do. It's like nothing matters. And it's infuriating to me that once again we're letting these 9 unelected folks make decisions that impact our lives, good or bad, mostly bad these days. And again, as people point out these Supreme Court justices are bought too. They're not the good guys. I mean, looking at Justice Roberts' like his rulings, I mean, yeah, Obamacare, cool. Yeah.
Thomas?
Marriage equality, awesome. Citizens United, though, what? So it really it seems like it just depends on they're not following what's the like, you know, yeah, Justice Thomas. Yeah, that's true.
I was
so,
just going to
yeah. It's just
to
very
elaborate on that, specifically on the issue of presidential immunity. There is language, if you read the text of the actual judgment, it's important that the president enjoys immunity for official acts that are within the president's constitutional authority. Now, that does leave a loophole a mile wide because obviously what is within the constitutional authority of the president is debatable. Likewise, it was not clearly defined what a presidential official act is. That ambiguity, it's a big enough hole to drive a bus through, and that ambiguity is specifically the problem. However, it isn't like they did just give him carte blanche in the interest of fairness. They gave him carte blanche when it comes to official acts. Was inciting somebody to riot an official act? Would it be an official act if he ordered the military to bomb the house of a political rival? We don't know yet. And unfortunately, the way that our justice system works, we wouldn't really know until he tried to do it.
And sorry, I really wanted on Cinetech. Okay, very simple. All Republican constitutions in the Western Hemisphere have clear protections for official acts of the executive power, just as like they have legislative protection of over free speech for those elected in Congress. A person in Congress that speaks cannot be prosecuted even if it may seem as a defamatory comment. That is a standardized protection within all constitutional republics based on representative democracy. But without doubt, the situation of the decision of your Supreme Court, it leaves and this great. What Cinetech said, it leaves too many holes. Why? Because you have a 248-year-old constitution that is outdated in the sense of what constitutes a official act of a president. Well, other countries like mine do have that well established. I'll give an example. An official act of the president is when they're meeting with another foreign person, just like what happened with Trump and Musk. That is an official meeting. That's an official act as president. When they are inaugurating a company or a manufacturer, that is an official act of the president. When they're writing an executive order, that is an official act of it. So the problem is that living it in such a arbitrary way leads to corruption. They open the door for corruption. 2, the Chevron deference. Fact of the matter is, no matter the system, either common law or use naturalism, or normative law, which is what it's my area of expertise. Normative law is different from common law. Common law is the least common of all laws. It's only practiced in about 25 countries, and they all shared one thing: they were colonized by Britain. Anyhow, the point being here is that administrative, civil, or administrative courts, or the courts that attend the conflict between people and the government, you cannot expect the judge to know everything. Therefore, a deference to specialists is required. But the final decision in regards of that should be exclusively of the judge. However, this interpretation is applicable mainly by.
We're approaching. Well, I think we're over time right now. So if you have a closing thought,
yeah,
just real quick.
And real quickly. So in that sense, there is a judicial debate that needs to happen of the courts. And lastly, in matters of the last Supreme Court case, yeah, pretty much they openly allowed loopholes for bribery to happen, especially for corporations who want to win contracts regardless of the due process. So yes, bribery is legal now.
If some good can come of the Trump abuse of power in all of these contexts, I think it may be that it is showing us where specifically weaknesses exist in the framework of our government, and where maybe going forward, if we want to avoid this kind of thing happening again, presumably we are given the choice to vote again and have it actually matter, it might be good to kind of put into statute some of these protections that we want sort of presumed are in place, but we are now learning are in fact not, or are there on more norms than actual written law.
Right. It definitely does expose weaknesses. Do you remember back in 2016 when Merrick Garland, I know some people are going to roll their eyes, remember when Merrick Garland was going to be appointed to the Supreme Court, and then
Mitch McConnell.
Yep, they blocked it, and it ended up being a Trump-appointed justice instead because the Republicans were just dragging their feet and dragging their feet and dragging their feet. That's not right. That's not equitable. That's like a failure of the government, obviously. It's had adverse effects on people, obviously. It's a really bad look, and that does need reform long term.
I still think it's interesting that Jimmy Dore said the moon will fall into Lake Michigan before Trump ever gets 3 Supreme Court picks.
It's because Jimmy Dore is a grifter.
Yeah, but I just
actually think liberals should be ecstatic at this precedent that Trump's setting.
Someone should check Lake Michigan. There might be the moon might be there.
Liberals chose to screw themselves, like when Ruth Bader Ginsburg refused to step down. Liberals chose, and they cheered her on, and they said, "Oh, look at her, she's such an icon." And they screwed themselves.
Sotomayor's doing the same thing right now.
Yeah, and what
did last year?
What
Sotomayor
right
last
now
year, she's had some health problems too, not as extreme, but she did the same thing. People were saying you should step down, and she hasn't.
I thought she was young.
But you should be ecstatic as a
I hate these wizards.
Trump is setting of ignoring the courts.
Yeah,
you should be ecstatic. You've got a conservative Supreme Court majority for the next 30 years at least. You should be so stoked.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah. Fuck the wizards.
You should love the precedent that the courts are going to be ignored.
Fuck the wizards, then.
Let them fucking enforce it. Nobody cares.
That's not a thing that
the court's going to do.
Let's Prem-Kiz.
Yeah, so the Democrats don't look at this strategically. So you'll see have people saying that, like, Sotomayor should stay, right? And that she's fierce for doing that, right? But on the other side, the conservatives, Trump is going to get 2 more Supreme Court picks. The oldest Supreme Court justices, or the conservative ones, will step down. They're going to be replaced with younger ones. That's the way we should have done it. And the fact that we haven't done it means that he might get 3 picks because Sotomayor might not be able to complete her term.
Yeah, the Supreme Court right now is kind of like a turn-based strategy game with a little bit of RNG, right? And
it's pay to win as well.
Fucking outplayed. Yeah, it is pay to win. The Dems got absolutely outplayed, and that's like somewhat on them, but also the Republicans.
They weren't thinking about
had something to do with that as well. Yeah.
Joe, you've been quiet this whole time.
Wow.
I see you stimming.
I do not support abolishing the court. However, if we replace the court and put Kendrick Lamar, Drake after we colonize Canada,
thank you, Joe. All right, thank you, Joe.
We can't shut him up. He hasn't talked yet. We can't. Okay. You got to keep the bid going.
All right.
There is a proposal by Ro Khanna to limit Supreme Court terms to 18 years and then to cycle them so that there's, it's known exactly which year there will be, one Supreme Court justice become available, and so they don't cluster up where you get 3 or 4 in one term and then none in the next term. That sort of thing.
Yeah, but what if one just dies?
Apologies to Charlie again. I do think also it is a net good that we are putting the corruption on the table.
We're missing quite a lot of it, but I agree.
And we should put it on the table and make it transparent. And in all seriousness, the only good point so far was our Irish-Canadian brother Nathaniel's point that you all missed, which was, guess what? Liberals benefit from this. If Trump loses the next election, presidential immunity, do whatever the fuck you want.
To me personally, fuck conservatives
Can I
and
have a
fuck
second to
liberals
talk,
too.
please?
Okay, Nathaniel, go ahead.
Like the point that I was trying to illustrate, that I was so rudely talked over, by the way, is that Trump is setting a precedent that you can just ignore the fucking courts. And if you have a bunch of young Republican justices in the courts, you have a Republican or a conservative majority in the courts for the next like 30 years. So great, whoever gets in next, whether it's Kamala Harris, hopefully I think Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton comes in, she can just ignore all the Supreme Court. Like, it's perfect. I would be so ecstatic. What are they going to do?
Okay, that was more evil. That was more evil than anything Joe has said tonight.
What the fuck?
That was crazy.
Hey, I wrote her in 2024 and 2020, and you won't stop me from writing her in
Another Benghazi. I want another Benghazi.
You have the treasury.
3 Benghazis, 4 Benghazis.
Simple
Hell,
as this.
5
Anybody in
Benghazis.
the chat and anybody here, what is the main thing a person who has been elected president does in order to obtain the office? An oath. What is that oath?
To not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes.
To defend the Constitution.
Can I just hear a smoke detector chirp?
No.
Am I going
Jokes
crazy?
aside.
I think that was a real bird.
The oath is, I will uphold the laws and the Constitution of the United States.
It's I will work for
this,
you.
The message is exactly, but the message with this is, I am king. I do whatever I want. Off with their heads.
Yep.
All right. I'd like to turn to Peter Fanley. Do you have any thoughts on the subject? I don't think we've yet heard a deep dive from you.
Peter, he's talking to you.
Oh, sorry. I did not realize.
No worries.
My bad. So
the testicle
I feel
vice
like
was squeezing him.
Yeah, I was eating. So sorry, I'm reading the question fully because it hasn't been said out loud in a little bit. Do these decisions reflect the people's will, and are they problematic? I mean, I guess as I listen to people talk, I realize that I could sit here and think about this from like a purely objective point of view and say, yeah, there's probably something in there that's probably nice or something, but like I'm far too locked in on the reality of this shit, and it's fascism, dude. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but it's like, how am I supposed to look at anything and like pretend that it's not that? Is like, well, so I guess that kind of answers that question. But like, does this reflect the people's will? I mean, actually, no. I can't even joke about that either. Kind of no, not most people anyway.
No, 1/3 of the
very
country.
Specific set of people. Wait, sorry.
1/3 of the country, 84 million people didn't vote who were registered. More than
All right,
any.
I'm gonna pop the poll
That's just
into
how
chat,
democracy
but you all keep talking. I'm gonna pop the poll into chat.
Yeah,
But yeah,
sure, that's just how
Spidey,
democracy
if
works.
you could start the
No, yeah,
the
it
timer.
does. There's nothing like wrong with that. I'm just saying it's not the majority of the country. I'm not saying there's anything invalid about it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I already know for a fact that at least probably most of those people that didn't vote also didn't. They weren't.
Not voting
They
is
weren't
voting.
into this.
By not voting, they
This
voted.
idea of- yeah, exactly. Yeah, but the idea of the will of the people, what captures the will of people, like that, like I was talking to someone, and they were saying that, well, people voted for Doge, right? But what did they actually vote for? They voted to cut waste, fraud, and abuse. But what does that mean? In fact, we have a lot of Trump voters who are now deeply regretting that. Now, they still wanted, to make government smaller. That's because for decades, conservatives have been telling us that government is some evil, like, contraption, right? And these bureaucrats are the ones running this evil contraption. And so you just got to make it smaller. So people say, yes, I'll make it smaller, but they don't actually have a process in mind. And so when they're actually presented with that process, actually they don't want it. So what is the will of the people?
I think it's also worth noting that these discussions regarding what is the will of the people and how many people vote, a lot of these problems would be resolved if people could just be made to pay attention to politics.
Agreed.
And actually care about
would
the
you do
issues and
that?
participate in the process.
How would you do that, though?
Mhm.
Like, how could we possibly, like, force people to...
I mean, we're already like
I can
locked
tell
in
you.
with like stupid drama stuff. Just force people to like, I don't know.
No.
I mean, not to say further sensationalize it, but like, I don't know. Like,
can I just because I talk about this all the time. If you want to get more people interested in politics and actually take stuff seriously, the thing you have to fix is hyper individualism. Every single person in America thinks that everyone outside the walls of their house is an enemy and wants to kill and steal from them. People need to go outside, talk to their neighbors, walk around their community, make friends, form, like, I don't know, make a community garden. You have some money, your neighbor has some money, there's an empty plot, buy that plot, grow some food on it because food's expensive. There's a lot of things that we can do, and that interaction.
Throw some government-sponsored orgies.
I can agree with you to a certain extent that, like, one, we don't, in this country, at least in Western nations, we generally don't have ways to, like, bring people together, right? We do leave
Republicans do.
We don't encourage these things, right? So, like, unions used to be a way that people would mix and, like, get this information. That'd be one way. Also, just on a more random note, is that a way to get people to engage in politics more is just to let them have more free time. If people are constantly overworked, then they're not going to be able to do this. And one, that's part of labor rights.
It's on purpose, though.
100%. 100%.
We've had raising class consciousness for like a decade now. If you're the people in charge, if you're the capital class, and you see the public gaining class consciousness, what do? You make life harder for them. You make them have less time to think class conscious, read, talk to each other. You give them less ability to be unstressed.
You just keep feeding them identity politics.
Yeah, that too. Well, that's the right. That's Republican. No, that is true. That's Republicans.
He's got stuff that I don't have.
But that's how Republicans do it.
Everybody.
Let me
That's
put it
everybody.
on the board.
Liberals too.
Let me put this on the board and let me direct this real quickly.
Time.
Okay, time. It is time.
Sorry.
Not quickly
I
enough.
haven't even been observing the results. All right. Joe and Nathaniel.
this sucks.
So I have two
This
things I'm going
does
to
suck.
say
Oh boy.
before I leave. Just two things. Just two.
Uh-oh.
First,
What are the balloons?
first, I don't know why ignore the balloons. The first thing I want to say is
No.
chat is doing what happened in the last election. They are populists and losers, and they don't know what's good for them. Second,
Idiots.
I do think bribery is legal, as we just learned in this discussion, so I will be buying myself back into the debate by sending Charlie gifted subs. Thank you.
Wow.
We need you
Joe.
back.
I knew it.
Represent.
I knew it. I knew it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, Nathaniel. Nathaniel, have you
not have a conservative on
do you have a
panel.
stream yet?
No, my Twitch account is banned right now for some reason.
What did you? Okay.
I have
Thank
no
you.
idea what I did to get
I'll
it
see you on
banned.
Kick.
They'll ban you for like anything.
Yeah,
it's true.
yeah. But anyways, I just want to thank everybody for having me on. You guys are obviously all very, very intelligent, real smart people, and I think it's funny that chat. We at the start of the stream we said, don't eliminate the people that you disagree with. Eliminate the people based on how coherent their argument is, and obviously all the Republican guys got eliminated. And then me and Joe got eliminated because we're probably like irony bros or something like that. So yeah, chat, I hope that you enjoy listening to a bunch of people smell their own farts for the next 3 hours.
I completely agree.
I have to say that I disagree.
Can we please bring one of the reps
Wait,
back?
hold on.
Let's do some leftist infighting.
well,
Let's
yeah.
start. I'm going to start some leftist infighting.
That sounds good.
need
No,
it.
wait, guys.
Crowded.
Do you guys actually believe that you can talk to MAGA? Because, like, to me, they don't believe in reality and refuse to engage with it. I don't see
Well,
any
you
of
have
that.
to bring them to reality.
I don't think you can
I
argue
live in a
somebody.
place that's heavily MAGA and, like,
I don't think you can argue somebody like that. I don't think you can argue.
You can. I talk to conservatives all the time, right? Like,
Yeah.
and you have to actually be able to get. Now, MAGA is like particularly tough.
MAGA's different. Conservatives,
but,
like.
hold on. But even Pentumble was here previously, right? He got eliminated very quickly. But that guy, as unreasonable as he is, I had a conversation with him on stream. After that stream, I continued to talk to him, and I made major progress. Like changed his mind.
But that's after stream. That's my point. On a debate is what I mean. Like after stream, you made progress. That I believe
like that.
because you're not on the spot there.
I would make the point that ultimately debates like this, as much fun as they are somewhat not helpful to progress. Just for the standpoint that
Wait, actually,
they're kind of just
hold on.
gladiator
That is the
fights.
next question.
Hang on.
That is the next question. The next question is, Our debates like these, that feature, people from all over the Jocelyn has voted themselves back, and welcome back, Joe, which means that
Welcome
we're
back.
going to take out 3 people next time.
Uh-oh.
So actually,
I'm so done.
one at a time. I would love just one at a time. This is the next one. Are debates like these useful? Like are they productive? Do they solve anything? We'll do alphabetical. Let's do Bagel Rabbit first.
Okay. I think that these debates are helpful. I think that they are useful. I don't think that they're necessarily useful in the way that like individual people within the debate will change their mind. I think that is a longer process and a more involved process. But I think that it's a good way to expose people to a bunch of opinions. And also, if you are in your echo chamber, to see other people who are outside of the echo chamber. I think that is the use of the debates, not within the group, but without the group. So, hi, Twitch chat. You're doing great. Good job, Twitch chat. Keep on chatting, baby girls.
Don't congratulate them.
I should. You know what? Yeah, you're right. Fuck you, Twitch chat.
They're literally
you disgusting little pieces of shit.
Not my chat. My chat's nice.
Oh, you can talk to my chat like that. Please, they like it. Cinetech, your turn.
I agree with what Bagel Rabbit said in terms of it's help. In my opinion, it's helpful from the standpoint of it helps humanize the other side. And hopefully people here are recognizing that the people on the opposite side of their political spectrum, whatever it may be, are not necessarily all completely unreasonable people. That's the help to it. I think it's not helpful, though, insofar that in a debate setting like this, oftentimes what tends to win is more rhetorical skill, which is not to, I don't debate that that's useful, but it is ultimately a tool that can be used for good or ill, and that in many cases, the actual substance of the arguments gets lost in the rhetorical shuffle, which is ultimately destructive because then you wind up arguing over who is the better rhetorician and not who is actually has the best ideas.
Wait, hold on. Nathaniel, why are you back here?
I never got kicked, and you.
Oh,
I'm just hanging out with Joe. I mean, that's
Joe
not.
got kicked.
I have something to say on this topic, honestly.
myself back.
Oh, so corruption.
And I didn't even get to finish my closing thoughts.
Privilege right there on Joe, huh?
The corruption is real.
The wealthy.
Yeah. It's the wealthy. It's Citizens United.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna go harass people in your Discord server now.
As you do. Thank you, Nathaniel.
With my intelligence, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Nathaniel.
Hillary 2028.
All right, thank you. Okay, and did so. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to. Oh my god, I have to disconnect you. Demon. Did so. Who was talking? Was it Cinetech or did so?
Cinetech just finished.
I'm done.
Cinetech, yeah.
It's did so.
I don't know who's next.
Did so?
Me, okay.
Okay.
All right, simple. These debates are useful and sometimes they aren't. They're useful because it is important for us as humanity to continue talking out issues, trying to figure out what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, and what's ugly. They're not, because if the people who are listening or the people who are participating aren't sufficiently prepared, and like Cinetech said, then it's the game of of those who can handle rhetoric in the best way possible. And then it becomes a game of popularity more than information. So, in very concise way, when the game becomes a game of popularity, these debates become useless. But when they become a tool of education, information, trying to figure out reality, they are the best tool to defend liberty, equality, and fraternity between nations and between people. Thank you.
All right, Rich.
Okay, so I'm a high school debate coach. I've been doing this for 35 years. I've had probably about 5,000 students over those years. And I've sort of had an opportunity to see what the activity does for people over time, because a lot of these people, after they graduate, they still stay in touch with me, and I can sort of see how they shift and change over time. And I think there's two questions, really, instead of one here. One is, is debate useful just generally? And second is, does it change anybody's minds? And let's just start for the first one. I think one of the ways in which debate can be useful is it gets people on record, right? So if you can get Trump to say something in an interview or a debate or one of these sort of areas, you can at least compare what he said in the past with what he says next, and you can sort of see like who's influencing him and what direction he's going in, and you can at least try to call him into account. But there's something far more important, which is the second question: is does debate change people's minds? And I'll just say this: it doesn't change minds in the moment. It never does. Or I don't want to say never. There are the occasional really good faith people who will change their minds like as soon as you convince them. But for the most part, they don't. However, what I found is that when people are trying to make an argument and they run into walls or they can't succeed in certain ways because something just is very difficult to prove, maybe because it's not true, then their sort of natural instinct is to not try that argument the next time. And their next argument, a week later, a month later, a year later, is going to be a little bit more sophisticated because they don't want to run into that same wall. And these little moments sort of accumulate. And eventually, you get one of those shelf breaker moments where you realize, oh, I'm not a Republican anymore. Or I'm not a liberal anymore. Or I'm not, I don't have this position anymore. I can count on one hand the time in which I had like big, serious moments where I changed my mind on something like abortion or the death penalty or whatever. But really, people change their mind over time in sort of dribs and drabs, and they might not even notice it. But they are definitely not the same person they were 20 years ago because of all these conversations that they have. And I think debate is one of the most edifying ways to achieve that over time, even though you might not see it in the short time period of the 4 years that I get a kid. But I definitely see it over the years as they continue to communicate with me after graduation.
All right, Joe.
So I'm a former homeschooler. I did team policy debate for about 3 years, so I Cal Rich will know what I'm talking about. I have a little more cynical view. I don't think debate actually helps the people doing the debate most of the time. I think it can help or harm depending on your personality. In a lot of cases, in my context, it exacerbated bad personalities. I also don't think a Twitch debate really changes minds or helps anyone. However, I will say in all earnestness, what this does do is I think I'm a shit poster when I do these debates. It's a Twitch debate. I don't expect high-level education here. I don't expect high-level discussion. I do think it builds communication across different political beliefs, even within the same kind of left-leaning political space of realizing we can all take a joke, we can all have a sense of humor, and just hang out and yap. I think that's more important. I don't expect to change anyone's minds. I haven't ever actually said any of my actual beliefs tonight. So, I'm just here to shitpost and have a fun time. And I think that's important in terms of building those bridges, actually, and building communication and seeing people as, fucking normal human beings who can take a joke and not condescending to them as, political monoliths.
All right, Christina?
Yeah, so it really, in my opinion, when it comes to debates, if they're helpful or not, it depends on the people that sign up for the debate. I mean, Joe, I understand Joe's whole shtick. Obviously, it works. I love it. But there are people who come on debate just to say the most outrageous things, especially regarding topics that are so inappropriate to discuss. I mean, there are certain people, not naming names, who do some panels, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't want to touch any of that.
Are you talking about the orgies? Is that what you're referring to? The orgies?
Oh no, not that. That's fine and all. But to me, there are people who come into debates. They just want to be controversial, say the most ridiculous things, and just go ham, go crazy, and just try to trigger everyone. To me, that's not, especially in Twitch debate panels. That's something that I can't stand. But I like doing Charlie's because I actually have fun. And also if you want me to help mod next time, I'm all for that. You bring on people who actually care about their beliefs, and that's something I think that helps
This was way
Changing
more fun than
minds,
I expected.
however, yeah, changing minds. That's again that can't. Sometimes that doesn't happen at all during the debate. It's what happens after the debate. And again, we only have a certain amount of minutes to explain our views, but hopefully, if you talk to another person from the debate like afterwards and have a conversation, who knows? You never know.
That is where it happens. Yeah.
All right, Peter Fanley.
Okay, so I mean, I basically kind of, I think I can, I think everyone kind of, they all had an answer that all filled in a kind of wide scope of the different perspectives that you can kind of look at this at, and I think kind of all of them are correct in some, honestly, not even in some kind of way. I think they're all kind of equally correct, and so like I couldn't really add much more in that sense, but I guess to make it, I guess maybe slightly off topic, because it seems like we're talking about literal debates, but I guess if I had a comment on just the concept of just debating, just talking about something amongst something with someone, I would say obviously I still apply everything that everyone else said, but I'd also say on top of that you can definitely at some point get into just an intellectual either circle jerk or just like purposely, especially, you know, kind of backpacking a little bit off of what Christina said about just saying things to be controversial. Especially nowadays, you see people that, like, especially when they don't know anything about what they're talking about, they will just kind of troll their way through an argument, and then once when you get pissed off that they're not taking it seriously, they'll just tell you got you mad, dork. You know, and neither of those things are constructive. Both in the moment, it's just annoying. Or you guys are just saying, "Oh yeah, I agree, yeah," and then you just kind of wasted a bunch of minutes just kind of wasting breath a bit. You know, try and you know, a little less theory, a little more praxis. Sometimes, you know, don't get caught up in just talking about things. And
All
yeah.
right. Thank you. Prime K is.
I'll go after Visora.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Visora.
I was just taking a hit of my vape. I was just gonna say, like, my view on debates is it depends on the type of debate. I agree with what a lot of everyone said. When it comes to MAGA, I think that the only use that debate has is blood sport. It's gladiator fighting to see who comes out on top. And honestly, even like debating liberals can often end up as exactly the same thing: blood sport, gladiator fighting. I think that the people that you're debating are not the people you're trying to convince. It's the audience, as Bagel said earlier. Sorry. And if you want a debate that you genuinely want to change someone's mind, like it's a proper debate that you want good outcomes from, not relating to the audience, it has to be someone that disagrees with you from your end of the spectrum. Like, I would realistically, if I'm going to one-on-one debate somebody for an actual goal, they have to be on the left and not a liberal either, like further to the left, because then debating a liberal, it goes back into the same cycle. If you really want to make change in that person. If you want to make change in the audience, you can do that in pretty much any debate. It's just whether or not the change will be useful depends on the people.
All right, Prime K is.
Okay. First of all, shout out to my friend Ika Rich. I think he made an amazing point. Being at the end means that anything interesting, well, useful might have already been said, so I'm going to take the opposing stance here. But not a stance that I don't believe in. Rhetoric is good. Being a rhetorician, a good rhetorician, gets you far. Actually, I think the more useful types of debates are blood sports, because it teaches you, in the way that Ika was saying, right? It teaches you what is a useful technique for changing people's minds. What is a useful tactic when I'm trying to present my point. Well, in the real world, rhetoric changes minds. So whether for good or for bad, we actually want, if you're on the left, right, you want people on your side who can actually fight on the field of rhetorics. You want people to who can come in and dunk on the other guy, right? purely for your own selfish needs. You'd actually want people to do that. So like being focused on like, oh, let's have a stale debate where, you know, we just present our points on either side, right? And at the end, well, maybe we've changed someone's mind. You actually don't have to worry about that. Actually sharpen your rhetoric. Actually be better. Actually be smarter, wittier, whatever it takes to bring people to your side.
Yeah, all of these I think tie in together, and I think that it ties into the same point that Peter made of more praxis, less rhetoric.
That's
if I may reclaim
The praxis is a rhetorical term.
Now you're just being
Look,
contrarian.
In that sense,
yeah.
Look, in that sense, I'm fairly good at being rhetorician. And
thank you, Joe.
Okay, that was good one. What? Coño la madre, ya me perdí el inglés.
Yeah, I think you should start over, Ditso.
Yeah, sorry. That drum went me to Spanish completely. It threw me back to Spanish. My head is right now in Spanish.
You're gonna do another drum. I'm gonna start speaking Turkish.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go.
I found the weakness for everyone in this debate.
Just the drum.
Yeah, do another drum. Let's like reset it.
Yeah, reset it.
İngilizceyi unuttum. İngilizce konuşmayı bilmiyorum. Ne yapacağım şimdi?
Oh God.
Ya va. Llevémosla del cuello porque con esos.
Yalla. Hadi konuş be.
Dale, mija, seguimos. Okay, so simple as this. And it's a good thing that Joe did it. If you're capable of distracting your opponent with just your words, and even better, without your words, you can actually start changing minds to a degree. But for me, I want to be very simple on this. This is my life's work. In the sense that I don't just debate here on internet and all good. I have laws that I passed in my country that are of my own creation. That I took the process of going to the legislative, convincing congressmen why it was important to pass this law, spend 3, 4, 5 years of my life pushing that law, getting it through the whole process. So these things are just a initial step for people to understand that if you do not get involved, you're living in the hands of people who are going to Roman origin you or Greek origin you without your consent. So let's be real. These things are important, but also the person who speaks is important. And I get Joe. Yes, sometimes having fun is needed, but sometimes we got to get down and dirty because we got to clean the carpet.
I like that.
With that, I reclaim the
being a skilled rhetorician, right, takes you far in literally anywhere, right? Because you have to present your ideas. Let's say you're a scientist, right, working for I don't know, the FDA or whatever. To get a project approved, you have to present these things. You have to be able to know like what is good for the particular audience that you're in front of, right? Like what is convincing for them. So you need to adapt yourself. So having spaces where you can contend with each other and people will not relent, right? And will not give you the easy win. You actually have to fight to win that argument, right? And however you measure that, that's extremely useful.
Also,
I would just say that rhetoric is a tool. It as with any tool, the crux of it is in the intent of the person who's wielding it. It can be used for both good and ill. If you are somebody that knows something and actually has intelligent opinions and has done the research and understands how things are and can speak convincingly about it, that's unequivocally good. But it is also possible for someone who does not take any of the time to actually master the material that they're talking about, but merely master the rhetoric to win over someone who is perhaps more versed in the material, but a less skilled rhetorician.
Confidence ties into
I'm going
that.
to start the poll. I'm going to start the poll. Keep talking. Please keep arguing.
So,
The poll
just
is
wait,
starting.
Joe, before you go, like, just confidence falls into everything that was just said. And I want to put that out there so you like, because you can't have the rhetoric without the confidence, but the confidence without the rhetoric is possible, and that's even worse.
Yeah.
Can I just want to, so there's a subtle difference between a rhetor and a rhetorician, right? And the job of the rhetor is to persuade. The job of the rhetorician is to know, like, rhetoric itself is the faculty of knowing in any given case the available means of persuasion. So knowing what will persuade is what the rhetorician does. Actually doing the persuading is what the rhetor does. And the reason I make that distinction is because that confidence point that you made is definitely like the job of the rhetor, right? That's the person who's actually doing the persuasion.
So
I
here's
cannot
an
agree with
example,
you,
right?
Rich,
In terms
but
of
there's
science
one.
persuasion, right? We have science community, and this is actually quite important. We have science communicators out there who are trying to educate the public on, whatever their particular field is, right? Those people are extremely important, especially like right now, because we've had people who conspiracy theorists like RFK, like, I don't know, name them, right? In terms of vaccines or flat earthers or whatever, right? We need science communicators who can understand their tactics that they use on the other side and who can combat them. And so if you're take yourself out of the game of oration or rhetorician or whatever you like to call it, then that means you cede it to the other side. And that means you get an administration that is actually hostile to science and a public that backs them.
I agree with that.
My old professor of
My
old professor of philosophy used to say to me in Spanish, que hablar hay que tener lengua serpiente para sentir el calor. To talk, you have to have a tongue of a serpent to feel the heat. So, in that sense, I will say as simple as this. Look, I'm speaking in a language that I was not born to. If you have me in Spanish, I will be even far more dynamic in the way I refer to things. But this is the interesting part. Rich, I agree with 75% of what you said. But one thing I do want to not disagree, but augment into your position is that people have to learn and remember that debates ain't just about us here who we talking, but it's the people who are listening. And the people who are listening also have one simple obligation. Have the minimal capability of understanding, of learning, of asking, of having a base to understand what the hell this people who are
all
here
of
are
that
talking about.
all of that requires caring first. And from all what I can see, the right wing does not care about science, facts, or data because they don't trust the institutions that these come from. So arguing science, facts, and data with people who don't believe in science, facts, and data is a very difficult thing to do. To convince them of this, you need to have it directly attached to their life.
That's the available means of persuasion.
Yeah, currently.
And the cult of personality.
So that is
the
the poll is done, and it looks like the top three are Joe, Ditso, and Christina.
Damn.
I want to say
Damn.
thank you all for coming. It has been a pleasure, and thank you, Ditso, for coming to debate with us in your second language. That's amazing. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
I'm gonna.
Thank you,
If
everyone,
you guys
for
want to
having me.
make closing statements? Ditso, do you stream?
Not yet. I may get into that, but thank you for having me. I would like to know why I was voted out, but eventually I'll be more here to provide as best knowledge as I can on the different subjects. Charlie, great work. Spidey, great work. Visora, ya tú sabes.
Está
So in
bien.
that sense, and everybody else, thank you for sharing your time with me.
We'll miss ya.
Beshko woblaba.
We'll miss
which
you.
means in the language of Bribri. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Beshko
you.
woblaba.
Great having you, man.
Adios.
God, I forgot how to say good night in Spanish.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Buenas
Yeah.
noches. Right. Thank you.
Forgot for a second.
Good to
too.
have an international perspective in these.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
I've lived on 4 continents, so.
That's
New
great.
Jersey person.
I grew up in
I'm
Jersey.
a New Jersey person. I'm getting voted out.
It's not my fault that I was born in
Alright.
Turkey.
Joe, would you like to have another closing statement?
I will probably not buy myself back in. However,
Double the
That was
cost.
very funny. That was very funny.
in all seriousness, I will leave because I'm tired. And thank you, Charlie, for indulging my bullshit as always, and everyone
love
else
it.
for indulging.
Nice to meet you.
And Spidey, you did great moderating. I do think you need to the next time just be more assertive and tell people to shut the fuck up, like just directly.
Put us in our place.
Get him a gavel.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, we need a soundboard. We need a gavel soundboard. I'm gonna do that.
I think
I'm gonna do
Christina
that.
should.
Order.
I think Christina should stay because I don't know. You're fun.
I think you got the swag.
I would personally, yes, I would agree. But it has been 2.5 hours. My back hurts.
Oh, jeez, right.
I want to wrap it up.
Oh, no.
So, Christina, shout yourself out.
Yes, so you can find me over here on Twitch at twitch.tv/cosmopolitics. I do politics and pop culture from a left-wing perspective. Chill, chat, react. And on Saturdays, we watch the gothic soap opera from the 1960s called Dark Shadows. And I host a movie podcast called Moon Extravaganza. Gotta get Charlie on. We've done Oscar movies. We've had Sam Cedar on. We've had we've had director Adam McKay on. Little movie called Anchorman. Perhaps y'all ever heard of it? Yeah, but I always have fun doing these, and I'm glad. I'm once again. How the fuck did I make it this far again?
Because you're smart.
Yeah.
Stop it.
I mean, everyone here is
Alright.
smart now.
Bye, Christina.
Have a lovely night.
Good having you.
Bye. All right. We are down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I'm thinking I might do because my back hurts so fucking bad. I'm sorry. I'm being baby. We're gonna do 2 more questions. I am skipping the order that Spidey and I came up with simply because now many of these questions are, we're all pretty much gonna agree. So let's talk about the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
The Democratic Party's failure in 2024 elections has many of the leadership split between 2 trains of thought. 1, the Democratic Party needs to steer clear of hard left ideology in favor of picking up more votes in the middle/right. 2, the Democratic Party is left behind the masses of what needs to be their core base and should return to policy that favors them. Which direction do you think the Democratic Party should head, and what tips would you give the party's leadership to gain more support in the form of votes? Who would like to go first? Peter Fanley.
Oh God. Okay, you actually made me go first. Shit.
You raised your hand.
No. I mean, no. Honestly, like I expected someone else to raise their hand first, but all those people are gone now. Shit. Okay. Well, first of all, I think the elector is the option that I pick. I mean, I guess there probably was a point where I can't even say that because I mean, by the time Obama was president, I was like probably less than 12. No, 11. So yeah. So it's not like that mattered much anyway, but like we need some form of populist votes or something, and we know for a fact that the Republicans are not going to give that to us at all, even if they pretend that they will by just lying. It'd be kind of nice if we acknowledge that people can just lie to our faces and whatnot. But either way, and the left was kind of doing, well, the liberals anyway, Democrats were kind of doing that a little bit at some point. If we could give their nuts a twist and get them to just get rid of the entire thing, bring in a whole new government. I'm not saying anything though. Maybe we'd get something going. That's about all I got.
All right. Oh,
I'll give it a try. Am I breaking up?
No,
You're good for now.
Okay. Good. Thanks. Because everyone's breaking up on my end. All right. So I think the question is worded in a weird way. Because it says steering clear of hard left ideology and being the other, being the other option, right? Like moving away from their core base. Well, if you define hard left ideology as simply being identity politics, if if not being hard left means like abandoning trans individuals, okay, well, that's one way of looking at it. Or you can look at it a different way, and that like the core beliefs are actually hard left. The things that like are Medicare for all, right? Dealing with college in terms of payments, right? Or making it free college, or vastly increasing the minimum wage, right, to being a living wage. There are a whole bunch of issues that are on the quote unquote hard left that are extremely popular. I think these two things these aren't dichotomies as they've been presented in that question. I think they perfectly align. But if you look at strictly as identity politics, and then of course wanting to just throw those marginalized people under the bus, then you have a differentiation.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that you can do, there's a lot of people who are estranged from politics, but who end up voting. So, once every 4 years, they start paying attention to stuff, and they misunderstand a lot about people's political positions. One of the big ones is the conflation between liberals and the left. And I think if you really want an easy way to figure out what some of those differences are, you can just look to parties that are not locked into the two-party system. Like you can look at Canada, or you can look at the UK or Australia or France or a bunch of other ones. Often you'll have three big parties, sometimes more than three. And so, for instance, if you look at Canada right now, they've got a big election potentially coming up. And you've got Conservatives, you've got the Liberal Party, and then you have the NDP, which are essentially, they range anywhere from Social Democrats to Democratic Socialists. But what you'll find is that the differences between the Liberals and the NDP will spell out what the two wings of the Democratic Party are right now. And I think the trap is to say that you have to pick one when it comes to every single issue. I think what you have to do instead is what the Republicans have done, which is put your messaging into two or three like really big things that you want to send your messaging out to. Minimum wage might be one of those things. Things that one of the things that Trump did in both 2016 and 2024 was reach out to people in labor, union workers, and then convince them that he's really the way to go. He even reached out to like Muslims in Dearborn, for instance, and got a lot of them not just to not vote for Democrats, but to vote affirmatively for him, right? Even though he wasn't offering them what they, what one might assume he was offering. And in fact, we're finding out now that that is absolutely not what he was offering. And so if you put the focus on those three issues instead of getting distracted by all of these other issues that are designed, if you watch Fox News, their headlines are designed to split Democrats more than anything else. They're designed to make it so that Democrats have to, or feel like they have to, support a position that they may or may not hold. The fact is, in a two-party system, we have this sort of breakdown of different people who are all sort of forced under the same tent because they have nowhere else to go. So one way to fix this is ranked choice voting or some other voting system that makes it so that you don't have to be forced under a tent that doesn't represent your views. And then you can let the compromises happen at the legislative level as people are making their votes in Congress, not at the level of voting where you have to vote for a party that's unclear what it believes or believes something that you clearly don't like because you have no one else that you can vote for. So I think to me, that's what the Democratic Party should support. I think all parties should support a system that doesn't force us into these Sophie's choices that we have to do every 4 years.
Visora?
So onto your point, actually, Icarich?
Yeah, that's right. I got Rich.
You
can just say Rich.
You're so right, because the whole border bill that we supported, the bipartisan border bill that Kamala kept talking about, we only did that because the liberals were conceding to the Republicans. There was no such emergency. There was nothing wrong. There was no immigration issue, but we pretended it, and now all of America believes it. When we talk about the Democrats, I think that basically the current Democratic Party is useless. If you want to fix that, look to what the Republicans did. What did they do? What did they do when Obama won president? when back before MAGA, when it was still the Tea Party, they got young people to enter politics and change it from the bottom up. They changed the party from the state legislature upward because downward change, top to bottom change, isn't going to work for us. We have to build it
Project
from
Red Map.
Yeah, we have to do exactly that. In fact, I take it even further. Rhetoric-wise, it's not a bad idea to steal some tools and techniques from the right. Remember those old videos from like 7-8 years ago, the alt-right playbook? Go watch those videos and see how you can apply that opposite way to the Republicans. That's what they did. They still do those, exactly. They keep putting us on defense. They make us have to defend our points, to have to back up our claims. Do that to them. We're the right one. They're the idiots. They have no belief in anything. Every time you press them with facts, they just end up against a wall. The last guy I pressed with facts in a debate said, huh, and then I don't care. Like that, you can't. When someone answers you like that, though, that's the thing, because that doesn't matter in the debate context, but the people watching it see that and they go, oh, this guy's a fucking idiot. So if you want to change the Democratic Party, change it from the bottom up. And at this point, we might not be able to. Like, I mean, even AOC, Bernie, they're looking towards the DSA, which is useful on state legislature level politics. I wouldn't put them up there as like vote for DSA over the Dems and federally, but we're not going to have a free and fair election in 26. We might have an election. It's not going to be free and fair.
Just quickly, I'm not going to start a whole new thing, but I just want to say that ranked choice voting, which I talked about before, they instituted it in Maine. They've instituted it in, I think, 5 states at this point. But when they did it in Maine, the Green Party, which, by the way, the Green Party has done a lot to sort of distract us as well. I'm not supporting them. Yep. But what I'm saying is, the Green Party became something more productive once ranked choice voting was introduced into Maine, and they were able to do something that wasn't just attack Democrats all the time, but they were able to give out their own message. And their slogan was "Vote Blue number 2," which means vote Green Party first, and then Democrats second. And that way, you're not throwing away your vote, and you still get to vote for the party that represents your values.
That exact
that's
thing.
The reason why.
That exact thing was really useful in Australia.
Yeah, so Visora,
yes.
Jumping on Visora's point in terms of strategies, right? Like, I think what we have to do is understand that these strategies, sorry, I forgot my point. I'll be back.
It's okay.
I literally forgot what I was going to say.
Bagel, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of accentuate Visora's point by saying that, do you remember when Kamala Harris was actually popular?
The 2 weeks before the DNC? The 2 weeks?
Do you remember when everybody was actually excited for Kamala Harris? Why were they excited about Kamala Harris? Because they thought that she was not going to be just an establishment Democrat.
She picked
and
Tim
what
Walz.
happened? She ended up being an establishment Democrat. She ended up following the exact footsteps of Joe Biden. She ended up losing as a result. And that was just a monumentally stupid decision on the part of the Democrats. They fucked up.
Even Tim Walz is saying this
and
right now.
Yes, and they're going to
and they're
keep
going
on
out of their way
fucking
to
up
not take the blame.
That is what the establishment is fucking up. I do think that ranked choice voting is the only way, at least in the short term, to free us from this fucking quagmire. Because right now we are in a crisis, and the Republican Party is strengthening because we're in a crisis, right? We need to get our fucking shit together immediately.
So to be clear, if the subject is, and I remember what I was going to say before, but if the subject is the Democratic Party, the Democratic Party is never going to support ranked choice voting because ranked choice voting will only hurt them, right? Like the biggest block against third parties, right, like entering the system, hasn't been Republicans, who usually undermine democracy. No, it's been Democrats. Democrats know that their party, as Rich said previously, is a big tent, too big of a tent, and that many people will leave that tent if given the choice. So on that other point that I was going to make previously is that we can't go back on democratic values. Like, so was it Visora or someone was talking about immigration and an imaginary problem. Well, this is part for the course for Democrats. Constantly, they see
trans people right now.
Republicans, right? That's always their first goal, right, is to cede ground to Republicans. And then they're wondering, they're surprised that voters, right, voters in the middle don't choose Republican light rather than actual Republican.
Look at what happened with the budget bill. Even all of the Democrats were against it, except Schumer, because he's the establishment. He works directly with Wall Street, and he got, 6 other people to vote for the bill, and that's it. They screwed us, just like how Tim Walz was much further to the left before the DNC, so was Kamala Harris, and then the DNC happened, and suddenly you have Democratic consultants, Hillary Clinton's consultants even.
Get rid of James Carville.
Why are
Fuck
these
that
people
guy.
still in office? They should be fired out of a cannon into the sun at this point.
Remember when Tim Walz was like, these people are weird.
Yeah.
And it went over
They told him just
incredibly
to
well. And then they completely erased that from the rhetoric like a couple weeks later because apparently the establishment Dems did not want that.
I've just started calling people
messaging.
zombies. Like, I call the right zombies now because they act like them. They're a ravenous horde that wants to kill all life. They're infectious. If you're not paying attention, you get, too close to a
That's
zombie.
not actually the case, and I don't think that's actually useful when we say this. I get, I'm a leftist.
At least
right?
to, like,
I
the
understand
really,
that.
really
Sure.
far-right
We-
ones.
We need to hear from one other person that hasn't talked yet. Let's keep.
Let me just clarify real quick to Prime. I mean that to the really far-right ones, to basically the Nazis.
Okay.
Okay.
Specifically.
I concur that portraying it in that light of demonizing your opponents is however good it feels and however much we may want to do that is ultimately not productive if our end goal is to reverse their victory and be able to get some degree of our democracy back.
Do you think we can?
I think actually this was one problem I had with some of the analysis going back. Charlie, you were watching that video the other day where everyone seemed to be with that shoe on head and some of the discussion around that. I'm not familiar with her. I don't know her oeuvre. I don't know where she's coming from. But I do think that her point that people were somewhat quick to write off was that leading with hostility against people that may not agree with you is not a productive political strategy.
I think it's more than that.
If your goal... What's that?
I think it's much more than that. I don't think that, not all of the right, but a large portion of it, I don't think that we can come to an agreeable terms with at this point in time. Sure, maybe they can be deprogrammed, but I don't know that we can do that and maintain our democracy without having some serious shit have to go down first. I can't see, let's say we take the government back. Let's say somehow, miraculously, we have a real election and we take all of the government back. I don't know how we can ever be in a place where we can reconnect with these people. The people that support genocide on
They're basically
Americans.
a cult at this point, and it's going to take forcible deprogramming to be able to get them back.
Okay,
They
well, in
are
that
not
case.
the ones that what I'm saying about what I'm saying about in terms of being able to target the persuadables, that kind of attack. I know that the Republicans throw this against the left all the time. I don't think that rhetoric works in the other direction.
I missed a bit that I should have said.
Yeah, so hold on.
I missed a bit of my clarification that it was
closing statements here for Prime.
Then I'll
Case.
do that.
Good point,
Cinetech, going on that. For the persuadables, I think the best way, right, to reach these people is to provide for their economic needs, right?
Yes, a materialist perspective.
Yes.
I agree 100%.
Yes, actually, if these people know that the Democratic Party or whatever party that we're talking about is providing for them in terms of higher wages, right? Making sure that they feel that their kids can do better than they can, right? In terms of healthcare, in terms of all these issues, the party that does that is the party that wins over those persuadables every time.
True.
I completely agree. Do you want to talk?
Do you want to just if you want to just have one closing comment, Bagel, and then we got to do the voting.
Yeah, sure. So I was just about to say that ultimately a lot of people do not care as much about whatever issue of the day Republicans are trying to microwave, right? They care about their economic certainty. They care about their lives, the lives of their friends and families. And I will say that ultimately what we need to do on the left is just provide evidence and really knuckle down and say, we can make your lives better. we can do that. We absolutely can.
Economic populism from the left.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
All right. I'm
Yes.
going to start the poll. Also, thank you all for answering. Those were just brilliant.
All right, what
I
very
agree.
good
I put in the least effort.
Peter or
gosh.
Sinitek, do you guys want to add a little bit more?
Hmm.
Only if you have anything to add.
I probably would have if we did not have the 30-second pause in between the last person having something to say, because now I've lost the complete train of what we were talking about.
I hear you, buddy. I would just reiterate that yes, I think that the materialist perspective is the way to go, and I think that Prime K's hit it on the head. When it depends upon what you mean by a leftist, turning away from a quote far left framing. In terms of the identity politics, I'm not sure that that's a winning issue. I think it's obviously something that we need to take care. I believe in protecting the vulnerable, but in terms of a persuasive issue, I think that the economic message is far more persuasive in terms of getting people over to your side. And then once you've got people listening to you, then they're maybe going to be a little bit more receptive to some of your other social arguments.
And identity politics doesn't just boil down to, hey, I put a trans person or a black person or whatever within an audience, an office, right? And say I've done something, right? Identity politics works all the time. Like on the right, on the left, we do that all the time. But it's about whose issues, right? Who do we put money towards in the budget, right? Their issues. If we prioritize this group or that group. Do we prioritize white Americans, or do we look at or try to be more equitable within our budget? That's identity politics too. Don't forget that.
That's true.
Also, putting those people in places where they actually have an effectiveness on the policies that concern their constituency. I thought putting Deb Haaland in charge of Department of the Interior was a perfectly great example of that. But it needs to be a place where they can actually be efficacious and help the interests of the group that they're there to represent, not just
they have to actually
we
give a
got
shit.
somebody for because they look this way. That's the sort of DEI that the right makes hay out of.
Well, when they say DEI, they just mean black people.
High places doesn't necessarily mean
They just mean trans people too. Don't forget
that too.
No, but yeah, I am currently one of the enemies of the week, which that's so cool. I'm so happy for myself. And I can say with absolute certainty that most Republicans care more about, again, just their families, about their economic circumstances than they do about me. I can say that because I've actually talked to Republicans in the past. And eventually, after they get over the shock of having somebody like me who they're talking to, they don't care anymore. It takes 15 or 20 minutes for them to get over that, and then they don't care anymore.
These are the persuadables we're talking about,
right? Exactly.
Well, actually, I'll take that even further. I think that most Republicans online don't. Oh, sorry.
So that is time. It seems that Cinetech. Oh, we have another tie. So Cinetech and Peter Fanley. You were both the top two. And then there's a tie between Prime Chaos and Bagel Rabbit. So even the contestants that have been eliminated, I'm going to need you to DM Spidey and tell you who we should kick. And it is anonymous. We're doing it Survivor style.
So wait a minute. Sorry, it's between who that we need, who can still stay?
Bagel and Prime Chaos.
Well, now I'm up there. Wait, the tie's been broken.
Well, it's too late because I already
the tie's broken.
When I called the time, I decided that the first time, when it's time, I don't know how to stop the polls from gathering votes.
That makes
so
sense.
it's just when we do 3 minutes, when it's 3 minutes, it's okay, that's it. So I suppose actually,
are people sending me votes for them to stay or to leave? Because
well, I mean, one or the other. We could mean,
To leave.
Okay.
To leave.
Oh God.
I'll vote if one of you need me to. It's hard to decide.
Don't make me choose.
It's anonymous and no one will know.
Oh, I'm gonna tell the world. Like, hold on.
Do not tell the world.
Yeah, it's DMs. Then it's not
in the
anonymous.
meantime, though, can I say something, because it was an important thing that I think we glossed over.
Yeah.
In that conservatives online are much more vicious than they are in person. They don't think the way that they think online. They don't act the way they think online. It's a different personality that they have when they're online, in right-wing spaces especially. And that definitely applies to like trans people, as you said, but it also applies to like, you can find a conservative who can sit at a diner at a table with a black man and have a perfectly nice lunch, no argument, no racism even. This man doesn't even think he's racist, but that same man an hour later could be walking down the street and see 3 black guys in basketball shorts heading to the gym and immediately expect them to be gang members. And that's long-term institutional racism. That's the right seems to not be able to tell the difference between interpersonal and institutional racism. And that applies.
I think the right also
I
is
think you mean
much more willing to
racism, not
weaponize.
I need votes, people.
You're right.
Sorry, Cinetech, please go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just going to say the right is far more willing to weaponize identity, specifically against people than for people.
The woke right.
Yeah, I just wanted to add real quickly, like, because people were talking about, well, will anything change their mind ever? I think we're seeing something that might change their mind now, which is the stock market. The stock market can be very persuasive.
We had
and perceptions
Republicans.
of the economy in general.
Right.
Yeah, and we had the same conversation in Trump's first term, right? That nothing will change their mind, and then COVID hit. So there are, and I know people rarely will say this, but I will actually say that I actually do think, because of what I talked about before about the cuts that Trump made for preventing this sort of thing, really did help make this worse. And so I think when people sort of lived through that, that's going to impact the way they see things too.
You are right. When it impacts you personally.
I think it's the implicit
big weakness.
racism, not internalized. There's a lot of I words, but implicit racism is the one you're looking for. That's why.
You're right. And before you go, sorry, Cinetech, but today at Republican Town Hall, we had Republicans shouting, "Tax the rich," chanting, "Tax the rich." Republicans to their Republican constituents. Yeah, it's insane. Let me see if I have the clip. I can put it in the chat.
Oh yeah, I would love that.
Joe has bought their way back in.
Oh my God,
back, Joe.
This is unfair.
This is Nathaniel. Why are you here? Oh my God.
Okay. I still need votes from Visora, Bagel, and
oh, do I
vote for myself?
Yeah, Bagel and Prime can't vote.
Damn.
Okay, I guess
well,
I'd vote.
Prime, what are you doing?
Of course I voted. Why would I vote? Why would I do that?
I mean, I guess you can vote for yourself. Why
President
not?
Trump
Why not?
votes for
Okay,
himself.
sure. I vote for myself.
Found
Alright,
it.
then looks like person to leave is going to be. Wait, who? Why do I have 4 votes? Wait, is this a 4 vote? Is that what we're doing?
Well, I mean, there was only 6 people left, so
That makes sense. All right, it's split. Yo, Nathaniel, man, bro.
Nathaniel, what are you? You have not bought your way back in.
Oh wait, then Joe, yo, you want to?
Nathaniel, you're not allowed to be here.
I can probably do one more round because it's been 6.5 hours for me.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be. Yeah, this will be the last round, no matter what. The next one will be the winner.
Yo,
okay, Spidey,
Rudy.
who did it come to?
I need a vote from Rudy.
Who am I voting between?
Bagel and Prime. I feel kind of bad because you're the only one that's getting their vote doxed, but
Yeah, that's true.
Can't
be anonymous now.
You could just like say it out loud.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
why
true.
don't we let's flip the
I
quarter.
voted for Prime
Let's
because
flip
I
the quarter.
felt bad.
Call heads or tail. Call heads or tail.
I already voted.
I just doxed my
heads,
vote.
bagel or
Stop
heads
the
or tail?
vote.
Tails, I
Count the
guess.
votes.
Okay,
Furry brain idea, but
flipping a. Oh my god. It is heads.
That's pretty funny.
all right. Well, I'm out.
The fur. It was the furry brain.
The
It
furries
got you.
betrayed me.
Good to meet you, Bagel Rabbit.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you all for coming. Syntech, you don't stream, do you?
Bagel, if you
I do
pay,
not.
you can bribe your way back in.
Closing statement, Bagel.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I am astounded that I lasted this long. And
You did wonderful.
Yeah, you did a great job.
And I look forward to maybe doing this again.
Wait.
I do have a Twitch stream. You can watch it if you want. I mostly play violin on there, but sometimes
Electric violin.
Electric violin, yeah.
And she plays along to songs by ear. It's insane. You could give her anything and she's just like,
wow.
Ooh.
Thank you.
It's incredible.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow you and give you a
Cinetech?
shout out.
Thanks again for having me, everybody. Thanks for Charlie and Spidey moderating this. I think this one was more structured than the last one, so props. I'm Cinetech. I'm not anybody. I'm just a guy, but I do support. I as I said, I was somewhat making the argument against debates rhetorically, against rhetoric and debates rhetorically. I do think that these are valuable insofar as it helps us all learn how to put our message across more effectively, so that when we do have conversations with persuadable people, we maybe are able to make them more persuade them better, and in that way ultimately bring people around to our way of thinking, which is what we all want: a better and more equitable country.
100%. All right. And then
It was me. Once again, I'm also surprised I got made this long. Honestly, I know the tactic here. It was the two normal guys, the two quietest people had to get eliminated next. Such is the thing. We made it to the first half, the second half rather, of the elimination. So we did pretty good. I'm pretty proud of myself. Thank you all for having me. All of you, everyone that got eliminated as well, did an amazing job. Great chats and whatnot. I don't got anything else. Peace out.
Good to meet you.
All right. Thank you
Good to
all
meet y'all
so
as well.
much. Thank you very much.
Peace, y'all.
Bye.
All right. Nathaniel, what the fuck are you doing?
I'm trying to draw something. I'm just gonna sit here and be quiet. I'm working on an art piece.
Okay.
I'm not gonna interject.
You can draw some art. Okay. Thank you, Bagel, for coming. I was thinking, do you want to talk about the kids? Why the kids are becoming more conservative? I feel like we almost addressed it last time. And I know that that's not a question that was on the docket, but I was like, that's interesting. Or we could talk about Ukraine. Because personally, I'm actually not terribly educated on that subject.
I am.
So it interests me.
We can do it.
I'll talk about Ukraine. I'd rather talk about Ukraine than the kids.
Hold on. I have a link at least
uh,
for that one that I can show you guys that should just that link alone should answer your question. Right.
Okay.
Here.
Ika, Rich, do you have any preferences?
I also, like Ukraine as a topic.
Okay. It sounds
Or maybe
like
we do the kids in Ukraine, yeah.
there could be kids.
There's a
in
big
Ukraine,
adoption thing happening, yeah.
That graph I just posted, that's why young people went to the right.
Where's the graph?
Views of young people in the U.S. based on many aspects of politics, society, well-being, and it shows confidence in the judicial system, affordable housing, confidence in government, satisfaction and freedom, stuff like that. All of that went down.
That'll do it.
Yep.
That'll do it. All right. So it sounds like Ukraine is the choice. So this is the final question. The winner will be voted for here. All right. So on February 28th, 2025, Donald Trump and oh god, I'm going to mispronounce his name, Volodymyr Zelensky met in the U.S. Oval Office. During this meeting, Trump accused Zelensky of gambling with World War III. How fair of a criticism is this historic comment? Who would like to go first?
I mean, they were obviously it was absolutely an ambush in the White House, right? Like they JD Vance starts that off saying, "Hey, have you thanked the U.S.? Right? When's the last time you thanked the U.S.? Like the last time we thanked the U.S. was literally in that meeting, right? Like just a few minutes before that clip that everyone else has seen. Like it was clear. And then later on, there are other parts that most people didn't see, but like there were other like random like Trump sycophants standing around the White House, right? Who were attacking him as well, like random mother effers. I'm not sure if I can curse here. But
You can curse, you can say what, yeah, you're fine.
Random motherfuckers came after this guy. Like it was nonsense. And so of course it was a trap. In terms of our support though, I think of Ukraine, in terms of should we be putting all this money in? Well, I'll say this. I think Biden stood in the way of peace, one or the other. I think there were chances for peace previously, but Biden, again, being in the pockets of the billionaires, including defense contractors, he didn't allow for that. So I'm looking to force peace, but not at the cost of like Ukraine giving up 50% of its minerals. And remember, when they say that, you're not actually going to get that. As a taxpayer, like none of that gets into your pocket. The pocket that goes into are billionaires like Elon Musk. Lithium is in Ukraine. Elon Musk is going to get some of those lithium deposits. So none of that actually trickles down to you. So don't let them trick you to think that this is for your benefit.
I gotta go last.
All right.
Okay, so I guess I'll go next. So the question specifically is about World War III. And one of the reasons why I think that's an important thing to focus on is because people misunderstand how risk analysis works all the time. So it's not if there's a shooting war, the risk of World War III like goes up and that's it. That's the end of the equation. Rather, it's what happens over time when Russia gets the signal that, well, actually, this is what we in academic debate we call miscalc or a miscalculation. What happens is the more you send a message to a country like Russia, the more they feel like they can get away with certain things that they in fact can't get away with. And if you were to allow them to be rewarded for invading Ukraine, after they did the same thing in Georgia, after they did the same thing in many other
Crimea as well earlier.
Well, Crimea was Ukraine,
but earlier is what I meant.
But that was another example, yeah, in South Ossetia and Abkhazia and a bunch of other countries that it borders
Hungary,
against.
Belarus,
and each time it does it, the West doesn't give enough resistance to it. And so that's an encouragement for it to continue to go. The next step is there was a document that was released coming out of the Kremlin or whatever, the FSB, that their next action is to annex Belarus. And Belarus has a Russia-friendly government in it already, so it's going to be pretty easy to do that. But once they take that, then they're going to go after the Suwalki Gap, which is where Lithuania and Poland border up against Kaliningrad, and they want to have a land bridge to Kaliningrad. These are this isn't speculation. This is what they're going after, and every time you allow them another step along the way, it's another opportunity for a miscalculation. And specifically, what that miscalculation would be that they can do the same thing in Lithuania and Poland that they're doing in Ukraine, only they're in NATO, and that's where Article 5. If it gets triggered, means that they go to war with all of NATO. Now, let's say that Trump doesn't go along with that and he leaves NATO as a result. It's still all of Europe against Russia at that point. That is a far greater risk in terms of, France has nuclear weapons, the UK has nuclear weapons, and they, of course, have like much larger militaries than Ukraine could ever hope to have.
Thankfully,
and
Turkey.
That sort of miscalculation becomes far more likely to cause World War III than the opposite, which would be forcing Russia to stay where its borders are supposed to stay.
Wrapping it up.
Yeah, that's it. I'm done.
Awesome.
Is that just me left? Oh, I'm gonna be more horrifying. Sorry. Okay.
Okay. Oh, no.
Let's start with USAID. Why did USAID exist? It wasn't to help poor people around the world. It was soft power. We helped poor people around the world, and that let America stay there, talk to their governments. Hey, we did you a favor. We kind of need to mine over here. Can we mine over here? But also, even if we're not doing any of that, Russia and China don't get to do it themselves. China has control of most of the world's cobalt deposits because most of the mines currently are in Africa, where their Belts and Roads Initiative is doing exactly what USAID did. Getting rid of... if I was working for the Kremlin and I became the president of the US, one of the first things I would have done too would be getting rid of USAID. Following with today, or rather yesterday, Radio Free Europe and Voice of America, two American propaganda channels in radio channels that were specifically designed to counter Russian propaganda. Crashing the economy on purpose also helps Russia. We're talking about making mineral deals with them, but also we are in a trade war with Canada. We import potash from Canada, which we use for agriculture. The only country in the world that has large enough stores that could match Canada's of potash is Russia. We're going to buy potash from Russia if we don't annex Canada in its entirety. On top of that, we've said that we won't defend European countries, NATO members, if they get attacked. Currently, the Belgium Security Agency has indicated that within 5 years, they expect Russia could declare full-scale war on NATO, and within 6 months that they will try and test Article 5's boundaries with the Baltics. German's intelligence agency has also said the Russians plan to test Article 5 in the Baltics. Just actually as Icarich said, it is that exact idea. Plus, they have 150,000 soldiers sitting in Belarus right now. The last time they had troop buildup in Belarus, they invaded Ukraine. They're not going to go down into Ukraine because that is the most fortified part of Ukraine right now. The only place for those troops to go is either back to Russia or to the Baltics. And take one step further, Alexander Dugin. If you don't know who this is it's a Russian political philosopher, but Russian state media calls this man Putin's brain. Like, genuinely, not even kidding. You can go on Twitter and look up the things that he's written. He's writing about how America might take half of Europe. He's talking about great Israel, great China, great India, great America, and great Russia. They're cutting the world. They're splitting it up and trading it amongst one another.
Wrapping it up.
And that would be my point.
I thought we already did that.
Awesome.
Well, we're doing it again, but different.
Are we doing it again? Is
We're
it
on
Cold War II, Electric Boogaloo?
Kinda. The Russians won the Cold War late. Basically, we're allied with Russia, North Korea, and China now. So don't believe any of the China warmongering because China owns Russia and North Korea. If we're their allies, we're China's allies. That's
Oh,
me.
Lord. All right. Joe.
Okay, so a couple things. First, I don't totally disagree with everyone here, but I do think there's some basic misunderstandings about geopolitics happening. First, Europe should be first thing to acknowledge is the conscription of mostly old-ass Ukrainian men at this point is a horrible tragedy and a failure on every level by the Ukrainian government. Second, Europe needs to do more to support Ukraine. Europe has also insufficiently backed its own militaries and has not actually funded its own militaries. Austria, Germany,
Which is changing
France, hold on.
I'm just adding it
barely
in.
have any militaries, and the only countries in NATO that have done a significant amount of spending for their own military defense are the Baltic states.
And Turkey.
And they are tiny ass country. Yes, Turkey, but I'm focusing mostly on this stuff. But anyways, stop interrupting me for the love of God.
I'm adding in because you said the Baltic states. You didn't include Poland or Turkey. Turkey is the largest military in NATO. You didn't qualify what you were saying.
Let's let Joe. Let's let.
Sorry.
Hey, everyone, be nice.
So geopolitics is about give and take at the end of the day. Honestly, the only reason NATO functions is because the U.S. has taken on the entirety of the risk in terms of supporting it militarily. We basically support every NATO nation with our military might at base level. And frankly,
not anymore.
If I'm the U.S. and I'm saying, hey, I'm going to support Germany as a NATO nation with military might, I expect Germany to carry its own weight. That's just give and take. Finally, I don't think Russia's going to invade Europe. I do think they're going to test the waters and the boundaries. However, they do have a maritime barrier now in the Baltic. The Baltic Sea is a giant barrier because every nation there is a NATO nation now. Belarus is functionally already under Russia's thumb. It's a puppet state. We all know this, and it's an aggressor. And at the end of the day, I don't have an issue negotiating with China. You have to negotiate with your enemies and your friends. That's geopolitical realism. This is not a moral calculus. This is just realism for me. Again, I apologize that I was a little harsh about.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
No.
Yeah, I get a little spicy. And then the last little note is I know who Alexander Dugin is, and he's not really that serious of a thinker. He's kind of a nut job.
I mean, he is a nut job, but like Russian state media calling him that makes me take him a little seriously. But
yeah. So, but we also need to understand that Russia has is filled with rational actors, right? That an irrational actor would be afraid of encroaching NATO. A rational actor would be afraid of nukes being placed in Ukraine, right? We saw, of course, how the U.S. reacted when Russia put nukes near Cuba, because not that the fact that ICBMs exist, is because the lead time for those ICBMs to get to their targets is now greatly shortened. So if we don't keep that within our calculation, understand that, yes, it's a rational actor is going to react aggressively in that situation, then we won't actually understand what's going on. And furthermore, it's rational for Russia to be afraid of the U.S. when it's been military belligerent, especially under Trump. Right, a guy who's talking about invading or taking over our allies. Right, if you are on the outside looking in, that would be rational to be like terrified of that.
I think everyone agrees that Russia has like some reason to like fear NATO, not because NATO's aggressive, because NATO isn't aggressive compared to what Russia does. NATO requires that a country petition to be in it, and often will tell it no. And when it says it, but it will never like annex territory from a country like that doesn't want to be allied with NATO.
I think,
and there's no annexation happening anyway.
I think Russia should be more afraid of NATO. I think they should be fucking terrified. Right now, I want the UK, who's promised to put 10,000 peacekeeping soldiers in Ukraine, Australia, who's also promised to put peacekeepers in Ukraine, and Poland to do so. I want the German military to build up again. As you can look at Rheinmetall stock, their defense manufacturer, their stock is going up. Europe is rearming. Yep. Turkey is the largest military in NATO, and currently they have done the most open siding with Ukraine of any of these countries. They said that they will not I'll let you just let me finish this. Turkey has said that they will not recognize Crimea as anything but Ukrainian. Like they just do not. That's big.
But like, what do you like? To be clear, like, Vladimir Putin is an awful individual. I can't wait to be deposed. I'm not on the Russian side, but like, what do you think the response will be if they're more terrified? Right? We have a nuclear.
But they're not scared of us.
That feels more encroached. Sorry,
but they're not scared of us. Miscalc gets less likely. That's what happens.
So can you explain
it becomes more clear what happens.
I agree with Akarich. Plus,
I don't understand what you mean, though. Can you explain what miscalculation?
So miscalculation would be.
I'm going to interject real quick. Let's let Rudy interject. He's spoken by far the least. So
wait.
We're going to forget what this means.
Miscalculation is.
Okay. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Just I do want to get that definition.
Yeah, just real quick. Miscalculation simply says that if Russia perceives NATO to be weak, that they won't respond, that makes them more likely to start marching west. If they think, if that's not likely, if they don't think NATO's weak, if they think that NATO's actually going to stand up to them when that happens, then they're less likely to take that action. Miscalculation is the number one scenario for like triggering World War III of all of the like things that get gamed out like by militaries around the world.
I know it's your turn next, Rudy, but I just have to add this in there. You can look at the FSB training manual and that they teach Russians who are in international geopolitics, the way that they negotiate with the West is demand something, do not accept any concessions, make threats that you might not fulfill, because eventually someone in the West will say, okay, fine, we'll give you this. You can start with nothing, demand everything, and end up with a quarter of what you wanted with nothing. That's in their FSB training manual, which is the modern version of the KGB.
It's a good strategy. Yeah.
All right, Joe.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to note, as a German, the last time the Germans sent troops through Poland, it was not a great look.
I'm well aware.
I would strongly recommend that we not send German troops east again. It didn't go well.
I made this joke on my stream today.
There's not a lot of good precedent for that.
I literally said today.
You do want to support.
Yeah. Russia's
it's funny.
I
said today. I can't believe.
Consent.
I said I can't believe that I'm advocating for Germany to rearm itself, grow its military, march through Poland into Russia.
Is that what we want?
No, that was a joke. That was a joke.
In all seriousness, though, I do think like I'm much more in favor of trying to mitigate this. I don't actually want NATO to be more aggressive because, unfortunately, I do think that will be a miscalculation on the side of NATO to be too aggressive with Russia. And unfortunately, you do have to play strongman. And so, like, Trump's last term, his strength was in foreign policy, frankly. We did not start any new wars. The foreign policy actions he took were much more tactical and narrow in nature. So far this term, it's been pretty bad, but, like, he
made
made
fun
more
of him
strides
today.
there. So I would rather do that than see a bunch of Germans going marching.
I don't think you can negotiate with Russia if they don't want to.
Panel though, but can I ask a question? Like, do we want a rearmed Europe? I've been like thinking about this, and like
yes, except for Germany.
It's wrong. I think from their perspective, it's wrong for them to rely on the U.S. because clearly we are an unreliable partner. So then that would mean they should arm. But an armed Europe is a Europe that likes to shoot at each other. So, like, what do you want? I actually don't know the answer to that.
Europe is actually pretty united, and Russia's done a great job of uniting Europe in this way. So they're not doing it to shoot at each other. They're doing it to distance.
In the long term, they might start shooting at each other, not just not now.
Europe needs to do the French strategy, which, in the words of Patton, I have less fear of a German tank in front of me than an army of Frenchmen behind me. So as long as the French are not leading the charge, or the Germans, we're good. Arm Europe.
Yeah, what do you think about that, Dyko?
About well, I think Europe is a different place than it was before, and I think that any lack of unity is going to come from a lack of fear of Russia, right? Like things did start falling apart before all of this, right? You had Brexit, you had the near election of Le Pen in France, you had Eurosceptics starting rising up. Yeah, and in Italy, but Italy is like not Eurosceptical at all. Like even under this new conservative government. So what's happened is that Putin has single-handedly turned NATO around, and except for Trump now, they've never been more united. I think I think there's more. The question isn't is there a risk? There's always a risk, right? Like something might happen in the future that changes things. But right now, the far greater risk is what's happening with Russia. And I think that whenever Russia starts to rise up like this, it does have this sort of unifying effect. And I think that is the scenario I would pay more attention to, rather than some, return of the death of Otto von Bismarck, right? Like, I don't think that's in our near future.
What do you think?
Can we just do what we did to Soleimani to Putin? That solves.
Well, to be fair, I've been saying for a while, if we reach down into the depths of hell and bring Henry Kissinger back for one singular day, sick him and 7 dudes named Dave from the CIA on the Kremlin, we can have this finished in an hour or 2.
Also, or bring back Bismarck. I mean,
Henry Kissinger and. With the power of Henry Kissinger and Hillary Clinton, we can take down Putin.
Well, so I can't control Hillary Clinton.
Do you actually want to rearm Europe, Visora? So, I wasn't sure exactly.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic because I'm not sure yet. I just posted a video in this chat that I watched recently on stream that really got me to question it, from Yanis Varoufakis, who's a famous Greek economist. And he had some good ideas in that video of what Europe could do otherwise. The issue being, it's not the rearming of Europe, it's how they're going to rearm. They're going to rearm by cutting social spending, cutting welfare, and instead of taxing the rich more. And that's my greatest issue, because that long term will create those issues, like the ones we just spoke about. Doing it this way is what'll make the long term issues. And so if they're going to do it like this, kind of no. But at the same time, they also do kind of need to. It's a bit of a pickle. Especially like Germany almost, if it wasn't for Trump, the AfD would have won. If like Trump wasn't out there yelling at our allies, pissing on like NATO's treaty and all of that, AfD would have won in Germany. So
AfD is their...
That's the Nazi party.
I've heard it called
It is. No, it's genuinely the Nazi party. Like the person running for the main person running, her parents or grandparents, was it grandparents or parents? I can't remember. One of you knows.
Parents.
Parents.
No. Le Pen? Yeah. Are you talking about Le Pen?
No, I'm talking about AfD. AfD. I can't remember the lesbian Nazi.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
I saw that phrase. And
Alice
I thought
Weidel.
that was a joke.
Alice Weidel. Nope, it's not a joke. This is the person.
Actually, can I comment on this? Because
you're German, so
in this fucking field.
Yeah, go for it.
Joe does have a PhD in German history and teaches German history.
Thank God, that's fun.
Well, I do think the AfD is right wing. Alice Weidel is the leader of the AfD. She is a lesbian. She's married to a Sri Lankan immigrant woman to Germany. They live in Switzerland currently. They do have 2 children, so that has been brought up a bunch. The AfD got 20% of the vote, so they were the second most after the CDU and the CSU. The reasons for this vote are not too dissimilar to the U.S. in terms of the voter breakdown. A lot of it was men swinging right, but the important fact is everyone under 30 swung right or left to the extremes, either Die Linke, the far left party, or the far right. And it indicates that something was really broken in the previous coalition government, which failed to govern properly, which is just an objective fact. They did not achieve their goals. It was a horrible alliance. Even if the AfD had won, so let's do a different example. In Austria, the FPÖ, which is the AfD equivalent there, did win the majority, and the majority of the votes is 29% of the Austrian vote, which is not even 50%. The AfD did not win 50% of any district at all in Germany in this election, even where they dominated. They won like 41%. Even if they had won, they will not be in power because of the parliamentary system. They will have they will not succeed as a coalition. However, the worry is that they will eventually get power. And the complications are, one, you have young people who are disenchanted with the governing parties of the old parties of Germany. You also have a history of the East and West of Germany. It has nothing to really do with Nazis. It has more to do with former East Germany being disenfranchised since the wall came down, and a lot of migration and
I'll challenge that point.
Brain bleed. Brain bleed going to the former West Germany after the wall came down. And so you have this like deep sense of worker resentment there. And so it is, and the AfD, to be fair, did start as a Eurosceptic party. It evolved into an anti-migrant party. However, part of the anti-migrant thing is bringing 1 million migrants into your nation was a lot of stress on the infrastructure and civil infrastructure of the society. And if you want to look at a really bad migration policy in an actual Western European country, just look at the Danish system. The Danish system is far worse than the German system ever could be.
I have a question for you. I have a genuine question for you. In 1946, in U.S.-controlled Nazi Germany, former Nazi Germany, post-Nazi Germany, the Americans did a poll. We asked the citizens of that area that we were occupying how many of them thought that the Nuremberg trials were unfair. When we asked them in 1946, that number was 6% rather, not 1 in 6. We asked them again 4 years later in 1950, and that was 1 in 3. It went from 6% to 1 in 3 of people who thought the Nuremberg trials were unfair in 4 years in post-Nazi Germany. Now, I know for a fact that, like, I have Germans in my chat, we've talked about this. A lot of people growing up today had parents who also grew up with actual Nazi parents that just never actually denazified. And most of that was also in East Germany, where the vast majority of AfD voters are. So I'm not sure that you can say that this has nothing to do with Nazis when the area of Germany that was not properly denazified, that continued to generationally bring that thought and that ideology forward, and their voting pattern for AfD, which, yes, you're right, the vote split kind of like America did, but one of the main reasons that young people were voting AfD or Die Linke was financial stress. And the Nazis got voted in because of financial stress. Like, it was people voted for their pocketbook the first time. And sure, they might not have been able to do much in power right now, but at the same time...
Specifically inflation.
Yeah, specifically inflation. I don't know. It just feels like that could have been a really easy setup to move forward, you know, like maybe not a Reichstag fire this time, but...
Well, the complication there is that 46 is like the really early years of the post-war era, and from like 46 to about 49, you have no real clear governing bodies in the West or the East, and you don't really have a clear Eastern German government established until about 49 when the wall doesn't go up till later, but the divide starts around 49. And in some sense, hello, am I still here?
Oh, there they are. Yes.
So the tricky part is that, like, the East German regime actually denazified much more aggressively than West Germany did because they were Soviet, and the Soviet Union actually executed a lot of former Nazis after the war. West Germany, depending on which zone, if you look at the American zone, we did have a policy of keeping former Nazi officials in government. This was a complicated thing. You also have the issue that, for example, another example that complicates this is that you saw in the 50s in West Germany a surge in sexual conservatism, which was deemed as anti-fascist because the Nazis were not actually sexually conservative at all. They were libertines. And so you saw this like weird tension of like sexual conservatism and Catholicism surge in West Germany because they were like, fuck the Nazis.
That's why they're conservatives now.
And well, and so it is hard. And I also just, in terms of historical timelines, I would be very reticent and hesitant to say that. I would just say, like, with what you positioned there, it's hard because the AfD did not come into existence until 2011-ish, 2012. And my mom is German, and my mom was born almost 20 years after the war ended. So, like, there's a different generational gap even between me and my mom. So that's all I'm saying.
No, I get that. It's just like the numbers that I've seen. If you Google denazification, go on the Wikipedia page. 1952, 37% of Germany said that Germany was better off without the Jews. In 1952, in that part of Germany, 25% still had a good opinion of Hitler.
Yeah, it's a complicated.
It is complicated. I agree with you that like it's not that simple, but we didn't denazify properly, and there are a lot of outcomes from that. Go on, Icarich. Sorry.
Yeah, so I just wanted to insert one more thing because, and maybe Joe, you can poke holes in this, I'm sure. But one of the things that I think Prime's heard me talk about a million times is something called IRBO, the International Rules-Based Order. And what it's done around the world is done something that is, I think, unique in human history, and that is it gave us close to an 80-year period of time where borders around the world didn't really move. Now you can immediately start giving me half a dozen examples of times when borders were moving in the last 80 years, right? So I'm aware of the fact that this isn't a perfect thing. But compared to the way in which borders moved everywhere, all over the place, globally, in all of human history, it's a remarkable period of stability. And this idea of the rules-based order, which is you cannot annex land without there being some sort of like rule system around it that allows you to do it. Like maybe it's an internationally sanctioned like polling of the people in that area, and there's something that the international community can agree on, and you can eventually have somebody declare independence, like negotiations in the Basque lands in Spain, for instance. But for the most part, with very notable exceptions like Tibet and like Israel-Palestine, you don't really see that happening. One time a border moves, and it caused the first Gulf War, right? And the whole world came together and moved the border back. And then the second time that is this war, where the world is trying to come together and move that border back. Whether or not it succeeds or not, I don't know. But in recent years, we're starting to see this permission structure developing as a result of this war, that because Russia could move its borders, now all of these other countries are starting to think that maybe they can test the waters on moving their borders too. And that's what makes all of this so dangerous.
Is no
back to the World War III question,
order.
That's the miscalculation risk.
As you said, they killed the global rule order.
Right.
But ultimately, I was actually at a talk yesterday at my university about Belarus, the Baltic states, and Ukraine by like scholars from Latvia, Belarus, and Ukraine. And there's a good point made that the debate actually comes down to the fact that Ukraine recognizes borders as a legal reality and as a sort of legal entity, and Russia does not recognize borders as legal but as historical. And so it's a fundamental contradiction of, do you see borders as legal or historical? And once you get into that debate, then you get some wiggle room in terms of, hey, maybe I can go into Taiwan if I'm China because that's
historical border claims. Yeah, historical border claims are the main issue.
Supports both sides depending on which period of history you're looking at, and that's why looking at historical claims always like leads to these conflicts.
I don't give a fuck about historical claims.
International rules-based order actually been just helpful to the Western world, right? Or has it stifled others? Like, I'm just like generally asking this question.
It's done both.
You know, like for instance, like from like the borders that were set up by like the imperial powers, those are the borders that are frozen in place, and those are the borders that cause a lot of conflict. That means like those the global South can't actually unite and economically advance, right? If you're fighting ethnically this entire time, so the masters of the international rules-based order, is that just for the West in the end, or for everybody?
I think it's fair to say that it's skewed towards the West, but I mean, I think you can go to the East. You can look at China. Like Tibet was one of the last places where China was just able to go in and like meet no resistance, right? It was just the big power like crushing the small power. But then after that, you have like all sorts of growing pains. You have Korea, you have Vietnam, you have all of these things actually ultimately end up in other players in the world saying no. Yeah. So
like,
I mean, yeah. So these are all examples of where the international rules-based order was being tested, and many lives are being lost as a result of that testing, right? But by the fall of the Berlin Wall, it becomes a lot stronger, or becomes a lot stronger, which is why in the first Gulf War the border does get moved back, right? Because I just think it's extremely rare in history to see something like that actually working. But now it's starting not to work. It's starting to fail.
This is such a difficult topic for me to talk about because I want to see the fall of the world order. I want to see the end of U.S. hegemony, but I also don't want people that I like. America is my home. I don't want people I know to suffer. I want things to go rather smoothly. I want more freedom for the rest of the world. I mean, I'll take the crashing into the sun.
What does suffering look like, right? Because suffering would mean that Americans have less access to markets. Americans don't get as much cheap shit, right?
Oh, sorry. I meant suffering to everyone else.
Oh, you meant suffering to the rest of the world. Okay.
Yeah, like as in like kind of like tax the rich. The Americans can suffer a little bit more so that everyone else can suffer a lot less.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm going to create the poll, but I do want to say this has been so very interesting. This last discussion. I did not know much about these topics in general, and that was Joe. I need to read. Did you talk about the conservatism and what did you say? The Nazis were libertine with sexuality. Is that in your thesis?
Yeah, and it relies. I'll send you the book. It's kind of based on by this historian. And the historian who wrote it, Dagmar Herzog. Actually, I'll type it in the little chat there. But she just published a book on the history of like ableist eugenics from Nazi Germany through the 20th century in Germany and the legacies of that. So like.
I was going to ask, is that a carryover from the Weimar culture?
There's a bit of it, yeah. Her book is called Sex After Fascism, and she points out
I've heard of that.
And the book fucking changed a lot of research trends in German studies and history in the field of cultural history.
Thank you.
But basically, Eastern Europe was kind of a border zone during World War II, and so even though, like for example, homosexuality was illegal under the Nazis. And a lot of gay men primarily went to camps. However, a majority ended up going to prison, and those who survived the prison sentences actually got out and joined the German army. And a bunch of them then went east because it helped. They stayed sort of undercover because they could survive. And then they also went east because they could have sex with men in the Eastern European parts of the area because the enforcement was less. Likewise, with like kind of trigger warning here, sexual violence, rape, etc. in the Eastern European borderlands, even though it was formally against Nazi policy, it was okay as long as they were Jewish or Roma or Sinti women because they were not seen as real people. And then this tension though rolls into the post-war period, and these are where the democratic tensions come in, is because the democratic norms of West Germany, they kept paragraph 175, which criminalized homosexuality, and a lot more gay men were actually sterilized and sent to prison after the war for like 20 years than during the Nazi period. And so you have this tension where it's ostensibly a democracy, but still legacies of Nazism. And then the last little thing I'll note is on race, a lot of people talk about like the legacies of Nazism, and that's true. However, anti-Semitism became the kind of guiding framework of what counted as racism. So like anti-Black racism in the American zone increased. However, this was not only because of Nazism. It was partly because of German colonial history, Nazism, but also, interestingly, American soldiers brought Jim Crow attitudes to Germany to the point that they were basically taking over, white American soldiers would take over a German bar and bully it into basically enforcing Southern, like apartheid Jim Crow norms in Germany, which were illegal technically under the Constitution there. And so the point there is, from 46 to about 59, 55 are kind of like this weird tense zone of restarting. You have to, and this isn't an apologia, but you have to understand also, like, the Nazi regime fell overnight. Like overnight, nothing, everything disappeared. This guiding, structuring norm disappeared, and then they were taken over by the winning parties, and a new system was imposed on them. And so you have this
Nazi
weird
party
tension.
ended up being part of the new regime, right? In terms like the judges, right? The judges were people who had
Especially,
I mean, think about
especially in the American.
think about like the Operation Paperclip is what gave us Elon Musk. Because, like, if you ask Elon's dad, Elon was named after a book written by a Nazi rocket scientist that was brought to America and then lived in Canada using Project Paperclip. This book is like a highly technical book. The guy was an actual rocket scientist. Describes a society living underground on Mars in a weird anarcho-communist fashion, led by a leader called the Elon, in which Elon's dad said that's where I got the name for him from.
Oh fuck!
Elon's mother's mother, like,
that's so much less cool than I thought.
It is. It is so much less cool.
That's so lame. He's so lame.
They are. If the fascism wasn't so cringe, sometimes the fascism is so cringe. I'm begging for them to send me to the camps.
Was Hitler cringe?
Yes.
No, so look,
Was
Hitler
he
was
considered
cringe.
cringe?
Very.
He was,
Oh
however,
my God, he's
however,
cringe.
look, say what you will about the Nazis. At least they had a sense of aesthetics.
I see. I disagree.
Doc
I
Martens are
disagree.
really cool.
I think.
love Doc Martens.
No, honestly, I think the Nazis dressed like shit. If you want to look at good fascist aesthetic, go to Imperial Japan.
No, but compared to the current fascists
compared to
we have,
today,
they have the fascist aesthetics today are so dumb. And
The
I'm like,
fascists- I stand by this belief.
These are nerds who want to be.
I stand by this
they're the
belief
nerds
that fascists cannot create or understand art. Because art requires empathy, and fascists can't create empathy. Therefore, that's why AI art is an art, for example, and that's why. Thank you.
100% agree.
Hell yeah.
important part of gay culture. Tom of Finland, the guy behind Tom of Finland, is super tied to Nazism, and there's a lot of legacies and imagery there, and you just kind of have to live with it.
It's just all
But
over
to your
the place.
question,
Also,
Charlie.
Oh, Joe, I did want to ask. Was the did you read? Have you read? I've read through like half of like Paul Thelowit's Male Fantasies, Volume 1. Is that accurate? I know he does like a lot of goofy psychoanalysis, which is kind of, but
it's not like a historically accurate, but the way he does psychoanalysis is super interesting because he does basically it's a ton of fucking firsthand sources of like these the Freikorps. And so that's useful, and so it's a useful and important text in that regard. It's not maybe the most historically precise, but it's very good.
Right? Were they sexually conservative, the Freikorps? You've just been letting me say the Freikorps this whole time.
Yeah, it's Freikorps or Freikorps.
Charlie,
I would definitely not be sexually
Charlie,
conservative.
to answer your question on whether Hitler was cringe, he was Elon levels of cringe. The man got kicked out of art school, got mad at like Jews because of it, but that's not the cringe part. Comes from what every single Nazi has. I promise you, go look at them. They're all built foundationally on sexual insecurity, especially in America. Like right-wing Nazis are all built on, I don't want a black guy to fuck my wife or daughter. I don't think I'll ever get a girlfriend because a black man will take her. No, like you're looking like that.
That's so.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, I know. Like I'm like, I know I'm hitting it. That's the foundation of every single Nazi in America.
Like, how many comments I get on?
There's a little
Twitch
more to it, but sorry.
That are all like about sorry, that's just that's a phenomenon that is just very common. I get so many because I feel like Twitch, I'm gonna be shady here for a second, does attract a lot of sexually insecure males of the Caucasian variety. I get a lot of comments about the weird anxiety, psychosexual anxiety about black men and white women
also,
having
Charlie,
sex
they
with
also
black men.
all really want to be gay, but they're too fucking scared to be gay. And
I
so, like,
believe, yes, I agree.
I don't want to ever
wholeheartedly.
see what these dudes Grindr.
Donald Trump is the gayest president we've ever had. Donald Trump.
He should have been a judge on Drag Race.
He's bisexual. Sorry, he is the most bisexual judge.
On Drag Race.
Honestly, I agree with you.
But even beyond
honestly,
that, like
can
you
we have
got these people
RuPaul
like
and Trump run together next election?
No.
You got these people like Andrew Tate who like hate women, right?
Yep.
Whether they're gay or not, I don't know. But they hate women, but they use women as status symbols because they know if you have an attractive woman on your arm, then other men respect you. And I think that you see that a lot, especially in the red pill group, right? That like it's less about like, hey, how can I get a woman to like just date me and then love me?
That's
and then, like,
changed,
have a
yeah.
partnership. It's more
Also,
I want to
here-
dominate them.
That
and
was
then
10
own
years
them, the
ago.
hottest one in the room.
Can we? I have
Yeah.
a solution to this. Charlie and I are going to go to
Oh,
Compton and steal all the black.
No,
women.
we are
I
not.
actually do have a solution for this. I've done a debate on it too. The solution
Please
to
tell me it involves nothing involving Armenia.
nothing, no. But the solution to incels and sexual insecurity among males in America that lead to violence and antisocial stuff. The fix for that is a system of health care that is sex work, but not necessarily just sex work. You want to be able to, like, let's say we have sex workers in America that don't have a regular job. They have a risky wage. They have risk of danger. What if they were all employed by a agency or by even the government? And the point of their job was you go to the doctor, you go to a psychologist, and they say, you got to learn how to talk to women. You got to learn how to sit next to a woman and not be uncomfortable. I am prescribing you 30 minutes with this woman. And like, obviously there's ways
Like
to
a dating coach?
kind of, but like this can go further. It can start from any level at the bottom of like, just teach people
They
how
do
to
this in
speak to
Japan.
women. They do teach people how to speak to women all the way up to motherfucker, you need to get laid or you're going to shoot up a building or something.
30-minute YouTube videos where you stare into a woman's eyes
on our hatred of
for
women
eye contact.
Really lean in.
I think
you shouldn't take you shouldn't take dating advice from me, but you also shouldn't take dating advice from people who clearly hate women.
Yeah.
Right? Like people who have
Well,
a
yeah, of
rage
course.
at women. But no, you say of course, but like millions of men, young boys are taking that advice. So we need to tell people.
Yeah.
Like these people who have like
My nephew is one.
who condescend to women, who clearly like who think that's the worst of them. Why would you trust them to tell you how to get a woman?
Somewhat unrelated, but like directly related to
Spidey
this.
about women.
Wait, hold on, just one thing, because
Spidey
this is
knows most
unrelated,
about
but it's not. Australia this year banned social media for people under 16. And
That's really good.
It is amazing because, and people got
my
mad at me
God.
for supporting it. And I said, I don't want a 13-year-old to Google how to get a girl to like me. And the first thing that they see is an Andrew Tate YouTube video.
Hey, I will say you are correct about in the Andrew Tate era, but my first kiss came at 18 because I was homeschooled and I Googled how to do that shit. And then I made out with this girl. And then I said,
but you were
afterwards,
18.
without realizing, I was like, holy shit, that was cool. Fuck, that was cool. And I thought that was in my head. So, we maybe need to give them the wiki how of how to talk to girls.
Well, that's why you combine these two. You ban the internet for the children, and then you also government or ideally socially funded healthcare, obviously.
So
but
I actually,
I'm not sure
sorry,
about
we
the
agree
internet
on
for the
something
children,
politically
but
here.
social media.
My political position is tax breaks for the hose, subsidize Panda Express and Taco Bell, and we're good.
Based.
I love that. I feel
subsidize the hose.
I think we've solved it.
Well, I gotta tell my chat.
The vote. Oh, the vote. Yes, the vote is up. I will give it like another.
No, not the vote. I was telling my chat.
Dead inside.
I was telling.
Okay.
Wasn't the
I know.
vote.
I know.
Oh yeah. This was really fun though. Thank you, Charlie.
Did you all have fun? I did want to ask. I was gonna make a feedback anonymous Google form for people to fill out.
Well,
I will text you my
This was
feedback.
way more productive than most online debates.
Yeah,
Way more
exactly.
productive.
I expected a shit show.
Yeah, but
Okay, I'm getting a pen and paper.
If you want ideological, because it's going to be difficult to get conservatives to come here, right? And there's an ideological imbalance, right? One idea that I just thought of is that, like, maybe like for the first 2 rounds, conservatives are immune, right? So we can like balance it out, like immune to being eliminated.
I agree with that.
So we can balance it out or something, right? To like keep an ideological mix, because we immediately lost conservatives, and then now, like, I mean, it's just us jerking each other off, which I appreciate. Like, you guys are
But
doing
we've been more
This
productive.
was delightful.
I feel like we've
I've
been
said
more
the
productive.
conservatives that were here were also being productive. So I think that there was something else that was making this panel work, like especially when the conservatives were here, because we could get some clash. But I do think that it can be difficult with chat votes because it is just human tendency to just vote for whoever you agree with politically.
Right.
And
right.
what we do at debate tournaments is we have like sort of trained judges who are, I know you won't be paying them, but we pay them in order to like be unbiased. And they go through a process of training in order to be able to do this. And when there's typically 1 or 3, you can't have 2 because then you'll get a tie.
Actually, you're right. Yeah, sorry.
But typically it's a 3-judge panel. But at the end, you get what's called an oral critique, where they tell you why they voted the way that they did. Because I think you have a right as a competitor to know like what the reasons were.
To know what you did wrong.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you wanted to have a judge panel, I don't actually enjoy being on the debate. Frankly, I just do it because it's entertaining.
Do you want to be on the judge panel?
I would much rather be on a judge panel, and I think that would be a little more enjoyable. But I do think that's worth trying because then, like,
and what I've seen also work is that if you want to have that chat element still, you can have 2 judges, and then chat is the 3rd judge.
Yeah, you could also do like chat at the very end for like this final round. Like do chat as like the final round, and let the judges whittle it down, and then let chat kind of really decide between the final.
Yeah, there are lots of ways.
You might get a little bit less of like
the
political biases of chat mixed with also, let's be honest, I should have been voted off earlier, but I think people, 1, you forgot to put me in the poll, so you biased it, but 2.
Did I really?
Yeah. The first round I wasn't.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. I need to like
I've bribed my way in 3 times now.
Yeah, but that's funny. I talked about it with Spidey. I wanted to make like a really steep elimination price or like bring back price, just because it means that people would very rarely utilize it. But
and also
someone felt very.
I mean, that's just
but also I like to have a prize. My last one that I did, I had a prize pool at the end. I'm broke right now, so I can't do that. But if I'd had like a couple of elims or revives, then I could, and then I can actually pay my judges.
Subs. You can redistribute the funds from my gifted subs to the winner
on April 15th.
Can we stop the vote now?
I will redistribute. That's when the paycheck.
A prize for 1st, 2nd, 3rd, something like that.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. That's what I'd want to do.
The prize tonight, chat, is
it doesn't have to be a monetary prize, but some kind of
prize that Charlie told me. It could be a monetary prize too. Whoever wins gets an e-date with Charlie. Soon.
No, we are not e-dating. We are not e-dating.
2nd place gets to e-date Heel Mike.
I think that these.
So what are the results?
They're too pure to know who that is. Hopefully,
I don't know who that is.
The results are.
I'm gay.
Visora.
Sorry, that wasn't to you. I was talking to my chat. I am gay, but I was talking to my chat when I said that. Based. Maybe there is e-dating. I'm kidding.
Perhaps. You have won. Congratulations.
Cool, thank you.
Yay! But I want to say, also thank you all. I'm grateful to everyone who participated, the entire time. But this last, I don't even know what chunk of time. This was so interesting to me. This last conversation was.
This is the best part.
Extremely fun. Extremely fun. This was the best part. Would you all be open to if I were to have like more intensive questions, kind of like the Ukraine stuff? And it's, even though we're all lefties, would you all be willing to come back for something like this?
Oh, yeah.
I'm willing to do that.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. Hell yeah.
Hit me up. Back for a debate.
Yeah.
Even just a discussion.
No, yeah. I think that would be delightful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fine.
So Visora is your name. I want to shout, if you want to
I am Visora Official.
Final goodbyes. Visora Official? Okay. I did your Twitch name wrong.
I'm also
no underscore?
Yeah, no underscore. I just put it in the chat. It's all one word. But I am also on YouTube with just Visora.
Oh, okay. Epic. All right. Closing statements from everyone. I guess iCow Rich. Would you like to go? Are you iCow Rich on Twitter? And
yes, I am. Yeah, and on Blue Sky. Yeah.
So it's iCow Rich.
That's it.
All right. And then do you want to just, I don't know if you have any.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I don't have anything to promote or anything like that, but I do go on some debate panels. I go on Prime's panels sometimes. There are a few others that I go on to. It's a lot of fun. But I do most of my work in the speech and debate community, where I'm coaching and judging, not so much debating, which is my kids actually made me, the students told me that I had to do this Twitch stuff. So I started doing that. And that was like 3 years ago at this point. Discovered Prime first, and I've been on there having a lot of fun.
That rocks.
That does rock. That's really cool.
That is so great. People were very fond of you in the chat, Rich.
Okay,
and
great.
appreciated your I don't know if I'd say fact checking, but you know many things. You know all of the things.
Well, it's a fresh audience, right? So they haven't heard me say it a million times like Prime has. So that helps.
I would like to say everyone is very, very knowledgeable, but I think Rich has the teacher cadence.
Yeah.
Has the teacher cadence,
He's fantastic.
Well, thank you.
All right, Joe, closing statements.
Forgot that's what we were
Don't
doing.
have social media. But I appreciate this. Charlie and I I think Charlie and I met doing more degenerate debate streams, and so it is refreshing not being called slurs by like actual fascists regularly. It's great. Even though it is kind of fun because it is kind of fun because we hate ourselves, Charlie, and we're also masochists and we love PvP.
To suffer, yeah.
But no, this was fun. I do like the format. I do think this ran smoothly compared to the last one. I was chatting with Spidey a little bit privately, and if you have a next one, if you need someone to yell "shut the fuck up" when time is up, if you need a judge, I'm happy to do that.
Please, I think that would be.
I will remain forever an enemy Charlie hater, and yet somehow a moderator in the chat. And if you want to get away with things, just be there when I'm there, and one of the other mods will deal with you because I don't care.
Thank you, Joe. All right, Prime K is.
Hello, hi. First of all, gotta shout out to my friend Ikar Rich. He's fantastic. And I have him on my panels often. Also, I have a variety of people, including Admiral Gibbs, who you saw here earlier. But I'm a debater. I run debates. I was on Tim Pool's show just this Friday, and if you wanted to see someone get under his skin to the point where he had to change the subject from Doge, which I was prepared for, to immigration to give him some room to get some points in, then check me out. Right? Well,
where's the link? Is the link up there?
The link I can send you the link.
Please, I might watch that. I might watch
Pool
that.
and Sam Prime, can you get Tim Pool and Sam Cedar to come on the Enemy Charlie debate show?
I'll work on that.
I don't think you can get Tim Pool and Sam Cedar in the same place.
Yeah,
that would be amazing.
It would be.
Spidey's face is just like God.
I don't think I'd be able to show up to that one, honestly.
I would give so much to watch that.
Yeah,
I don't even think I could moderate that.
I'll moderate that one. Don't worry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Charlie, you can.
Fucking, I'll debate Tim Pool. Are you kidding me? I can debate the Kremlin.
Okay. Well, so anyway, thanks so much for having me here, Charlie. If you like to, and thank to all the rest of the people who are here. You guys are fantastic to talk to. Please come check me out at twitch.tv/PrimeKai, PrimeCayes, or youtube.com/PrimeKai. We do debates all the time. They're a lot of fun. They're far more chaotic than this, I can tell you that. But we have a great time. We'd love to have you there.
All right. Thank you all so much. Thank you. I would love to have you back.
I will be coordinating the debate, the E-date between Visora and Charlie. I will be in touch with both of you. Do not worry.
Sure.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Don't think we need a pimp involved, but
an intimacy coordinator.
An intimacy coordinator. Thank you. Better word.
Charlie needs a personal assistant. This is my role.
That's what you need in a lesbian date. You need a man to help coordinate. Or also, how would they know what to do, right? How would they? Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, where goes where? I don't know.
You should mansplain.
So you should understand that every lesbian is just playing Animal Crossing together. That is what a lesbian relationship is.
Mhm.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's bleak.
I hate Animal Crossing.
Me
so that
too.
is bleak.
Me
God damn
too,
it.
but
Can we
that's
play
why
Dark
it's a funny
Souls?
joke.
I mean, actually,
I'm
if that's
bad
the
at
case,
it, but I'll
Professor-
play Dark Souls. I like The Witcher
Professor
3.
Whom should be the intimacy coordinator because he was playing Animal Crossing earlier.
I'd rather play The Witcher 3.
No, that's good.
I'm really bad
I
at
don't
Souls
like
games. Maybe
it.
you can get me better at them.
We
I'm bad
shall
with
see.
the reaction
Okay.
timing. All right, we got to play a game.
Spidey is making faces, so I'm gonna let you all go.
What?
Have a lovely night, everybody.
Yes, thank you all for coming. This was lovely. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, everybody. I'm back now. Well, not quite just yet. Gotta get my fucking camera working. Here we go. Hello. I'm back. Charlie Viz content when? I have no idea, but that'd be pretty fun. She's cool. I really, really did enjoy that debate. It was much better than I expected it to be. It was not brain damaging. Like the beginning, sure, it was but like, it got fun. I won the debate and a date. I don't really think I won a date, mate, but I did win that debate. I'm kind of surprised too. I really thought they were gonna vote me out early. Oh, thank you for the follow, Professor Whom. Everyone go follow Professor Whom as well. Yeah. So at this point, I'm not sure I'll be able to do a stream tomorrow because it's kind of bedtime for me, at least usually. When their dude got voted out, they left. Oh, you know what? That tracks. It probably was like a big group of them. With that MAGA in chat, I guess you became the fave. Like everyone that was left was pretty good after the main two MAGA guys left. I took out a Russian bot in Charlie's chat for you. As in, like, you had one and you stopped putting it in there, or you put a new one in there. Thank you, Professor. I was surprised because I didn't know what to expect, and I've never done like an elimination big debate like that, so that was fun. What I really struggled with was the time limits because I had so much more to say, but honestly, maybe that's a good thing because, like, y'all know that I yap over and over and over and over and over again. In the polls, your number shot up when Pentacle left. That makes sense. Usually I can't shut up, so them having a little time limit for me made it a lot easier for me to get things into a succinct, short sentence to say, and I'm glad it worked out. So, we're gonna raid somebody, as I promised Oxpecker I would. Hopefully Prime will try and get you some of on some of his panels. Those can get dicey. You guys know I don't like debating MAGA, unless there's like a really good reason to. Like if the topic's fine, if the topic's fun, rather, I'd happily do it. But I don't know. I get offered debates with MAGA all the time, and most of it's just meaningless bullshit. They said you were 100% misinfo and couldn't say one item that was. That's what they said about me. Wow. That stuff makes it so clear to me that there is plenty of room to build with most Americans that MAGA is the zombie virus. It kind of is. I still believe that, and I did agree with the points that they made, saying that like demonizing the right won't lead to good outcomes, but I sincerely do not believe that those people want to rekindle like their American like they hate America more than anybody. I don't think we can come together with them.